Welcome to Streetlit Audiobooks. Leave comments and subscribe. I promise you this gonna be a Thanksgiving you will never forget. The Thanksgiving Hit. Black Friday. Chapter 1. Homecoming to Hell. Atlanta didn't do quiet. Even on Thanksgiving, the city hummed. Sirens in the distance, somebody's Hellcat screaming down the interstate, helicopters dragging across the sky like slow metal vultures. Cato Jones slid his rental Tahoe off the exit and onto the private road that led up to the compound. Trees hugged both sides of the lane, thick pines and old Georgia oaks bending over the asphalt like they were bowing. Motion lights flicked on, following him one by one. He didn't turn the radio down. He just let that low trap beat ride, fingers tapping the leather wheel, eyes dead calm. His face was still young, but the life behind it wasn't. A thin scar traced his jawline like somebody had tried to erase him once and failed. Up ahead, the first gate loomed. Black iron, custom built, the family crest in the center, a crown, fewed over a backwards J-S-E-N-O-J. Most people never noticed the lettering. The ones who did usually didn't live long enough to repeat it. Cato rolled to a stop. A camera above the gate locked onto his windshield. Another zeroed in on his plates. Third one aimed straight at his face like a question. He leaned back, took off his shades, stared into the glass. The intercom crackled. "State your name," a bored voice said. Cato didn't smile. "It's Cato, Joyce's boy." A beat. Then the voice changed tone. "Welcome home, cousin." The gate rolled open with a heavy metal groan. He pulled through. Home. He didn't even know if that word fit this place anymore. Last time he'd been here without a casket involved, he was 19 and still catching bodies on pure emotion. Now he was 31. Kills calculated like math problems. Heart colder than the chrome he carried. The compound opened up in front of him. 3-story brick mansion sitting on a hill like an old southern plantation somebody had remodeled with cartel money and paranoia. High stone walls circled the property. Guard towers on the corners, cameras everywhere. To the side sat a guest house, a 6-car garage, and a separate building that looked like a church but wasn't. That was where Reverend Lay did his work. Cato parked in the gravel circle in front of the mansion, engine idling for a second longer than necessary. He checked the time. 3:47 p.m. early. Big Momma Joyce always told him, if you on time, you late. If you early, you might live. He turned the truck off, grabbed his duffel from the back, and stepped out into the brisk air. Atlanta cold wasn't northern cold, but it still bit at the skin if you'd been locked inside rentals, airports, and hotel rooms for 3 days straight. "Looked like prison couldn't keep your ugly ass," a voice called from his right. Cato turned. Uncle TJ was posted by the front steps, leaning on the rail. Tall, thick through the shoulders, beard salted around the edges now. He wore a black sweatsuit and house slippers, but the bulge at his waistband said his guard was never really down. Cato walked over, duffel swinging. "I ain't never go," he said. "You know they keep me useful on the outside." TJ grunted, pulled him in for a quick hug, slapped his back twice. It was rough, but there was real love behind it. "You look like money," TJ said, stepping back to study him. "Or death. Sometimes them two the same thing in this family." Cato shrugged. "Where everybody at?" "Inside. Joyce been in that kitchen since 5 this morning. She mad already. Y'all know holidays get her remembering too much." Cato nodded. He knew what that meant. Thanksgiving was never just turkey and dressing in the Jones family. It was roll call of the dead. "Lucky here yet?" he asked. TJ rolled his eyes. "You know that boy don't come through a regular driveway. Last I heard, he in the sky somewhere. Said, and I quote, 'My ETA depends on traffic in the cloud, Nuck.'" Cato shook his head, a tiny smirk cracking through. That sound like him. They walked up the steps together. 2 guards by the door nodded, hands near their weapons but loose, recognizing blood when they saw it. Inside, the house hit him with a wave of warmth. Not just heater warmth, memory warmth. Smell of collard greens and smoked turkey, mac and cheese, yams drowned in sugar and butter. Voices overlapping from the back, laughter, arguments, somebody's kid crying. Old school R&B playing low under everything, as if the speakers knew they were in a black grandmother's house and had to behave. Family. That word was heavy as a pistol in this house. "Wipe your shoes," TJ said, pointing at the rug. "You know Joyce don't play about that floor." Cato did. He walked past framed photos lining the hallway. Big Momma Joyce in her 20s, standing on a porch in Columbus holding a baby. Tommy and Thomas in high school, arms around each other before iron bars became their world. A picture from the 90s of half the family crowded around a busted-up Chevy in the Peabody projects. Everybody smiling like the struggle was a joke. Then there were newer photos, suits, ballrooms, politicians. Smiles too wide to be real. Senoj had grown. They'd started in Columbus, just another Jones family trying to outrun poverty. But when the older brothers, Thomas and Tommy, went in on drug trafficking and came out kings of the inside, everything changed. State prisons first, then the feds. The pipeline flipped. Product ran into the prisons, money and power ran out. Soon enough, everybody had somebody behind the walls. Judges' nephews, cops' brothers, congressmen's kids, CEOs' sons. And everybody needed protection, drugs, favors, or silence. The Jones brothers gave them all three. Now the Senoj Cartel wasn't just a street outfit, it was a shadow government with better intel and worse morals. And all of that, every last wire and dollar and wound, led back to this house on Thanksgiving. They hit the doorway to the kitchen and stopped. Big Momma Joyce stood at the stove, one hand on her hip, the other working a metal spoon in a massive pot like she was stirring a spell. She was in her late 60s, skin brown and smooth with deep lines at the corners of her mouth from all the years of shouting people into obedience. Her gray hair was twisted up in a scarf, her house dress printed with tiny flowers. An apron hung around her neck, but you could still see the pistol tucked into the waistband underneath. She didn't look up when they entered. She didn't have to. "I hear you breathing, boy," she said. "Come let me see if prison finally got you." "Auntie, I ain't never." She cut her eyes over her shoulder, sharp as a knife. "I ain't say you went. I said prison got you. That's different." Cato stepped into the light, duffel dropping by the doorway. "Hey, Big Mama." She turned fully now, wiped her hands on a towel, and walked straight up to him, squinting like she was studying counterfeit money. "You got more death in your eyes," she said, voice soft but steady. "Last time you had anger. This time you got calculation." She reached up, brushed his cheek with her thumb. "Whoever you gave that last bullet to, they ain't left you yet." The kitchen went quiet for a moment. Cato swallowed, jaw tightening. She wasn't wrong. The last man he dropped hadn't deserved the way it went down. Business said he had to go. Conscience said the way it happened was sloppy, messy, personal. Big Momma Joyce nodded like she confirmed something only she could see, then patted his face lightly. "You still mine," she said. "Long as your soul's still arguing with you, you still mine." Then she turned away, went right back to the stove. "Go in the dining room. The others waiting." Uncle TJ clapped him on the shoulder again and veered off toward the back door. "I'll be outside checking on security," he said, which was TJ code for "I'm gonna walk this yard until I feel better about the vibes." Cato picked his bag up and headed toward the dining room. Voices grew clearer. "Man, you sound paranoid." "I am paranoid, Miracle. That's how I'm still breathing." "Breathing ain't the same as living, Lucky." He stepped into the room. The dining table looked like a picture ripped from a magazine and dipped in blood money. Long polished wood, place settings lined up neat, gold-trimmed plates, crystal glasses that probably cost more than some people's cars, candles in the center flickering under a chandelier. At one end of the table sat Miracle Jones, legs crossed, sharp bob cut framing a face that could sell innocence to a jury. She wore a cream-colored dress and diamond studs that flashed when she tilted her head. A tablet lay in front of her, showing some news site with the senator's face on the screen. Next to her, sprawled back in his chair like he owned gravity itself, was Lucky. Cornrows straight back, line up razor sharp, hoodie unzipped over a white tee, jeans distressed on purpose. His fingers danced over a laptop keyboard, a second screen showing a 3D model of a city block with little red dots pulsing on it. An open hard-shell case sat by his feet, the kind musicians use for guitars. Only when he cracked it, there were drone parts glinting inside, not strings. Lucky looked up, smirk already forming. Well, if it ain't the Reaper. Shut up, Miracle said automatically, though her lips were already curling into a smile. She stood, walked over, and hugged Kato. With her, the embrace lingered. "You late," she said. "Early," he corrected. "In this family, that's late." She shot back, echoing Big Mama's line without knowing she said it first. "You good?" "As good as they let me be." She pulled back, studying him like she didn't quite believe him but wasn't ready to push. "You look tired." "Tired pays well," he said. Lucky slid his chair back, stood, and bumped fists with him before pulling him in quick. "I missed you, nigga. I had to do 3 hits with amateurs this year. Do you know what that do to my anxiety?" "Your anxiety?" Kato raised a brow. "Yes," Lucky said, hand over his heart. "My heart be fragile, sensitive. I ain't built to be around people who can't follow instructions." Miracle rolled her eyes. "You ain't built to be serious. That's what it is." A low laugh cut through the room from the far corner. "Young people always think they're the first ones to do dirt," a man said, voice smooth like a courtroom speech. Kato turned. William Kendrick, the family's personal miracle worker in the legal system, better known as Champion or Champ when he was off the clock, sat near the bar, a glass of brown liquor in his hand. Tailored navy suit, white shirt open at the collar now that he was away from judges and cameras. Pockets square flawless. Watch gleaming. He looked more like a high-paid actor playing a lawyer than a man who'd saved half the room from doing life. "You the one got anxiety, Lucky?" Champ said, smirking. "I seen your bank accounts. The only thing you anxious about is which country to wire your crypto to." Lucky grinned. "I can be rich and delicate." "Delicate," Miracle scoffed. "You send death threats with memes, boy. Ain't nothing delicate about you." Kato walked over and shook Champ's hand. The older man squeezed firm, eyes sharp behind his glasses. "You a rare one," Champ said. "Hitman who show up to family dinner on time. I'm impressed." "I just follow orders." Champ's gaze flickered to the hallway toward the kitchen. "We all do," he murmured. Before Kato could ask, another figure slipped into the room. Black suit, black shirt, white collar, Rev Lay. He moved quiet, like his shoes didn't dare squeak. Bible tucked under one arm, coat draped over the other. He wasn't old, but he wore an oldness in his eyes. Lines of worry carved there from listening to too many confessions, both in church pews and prison visiting rooms. "Afternoon, children," he said, voice soft but carrying. "Lord done blessed us with another year. Some of us ain't deserve it, but he gave it anyway." Lucky snorted under his breath. "Here he go." Rev Lay shot him a look that was half amusement, half warning. "I might deliver messages. Don't mean I won't deliver a whooping too, boy." He set his Bible on the end of the table like a centerpiece. Kato noticed the spine was thicker than usual. Custom binding. If you looked close, you'd see the faint outline where pages had been hollowed out and relayered. Messages in, messages out. Prison wasn't just cages and guards. It was a kingdom, and Reverend Lay was its mailman. "You just get in?" Miracle asked. "Came straight from Macon," he said. "Thomas sent his love. Tommy sent his threats. Same as always." That drew a couple of chuckles. "How they looking?" Kato asked quietly. Rev Lay considered his words. "Like men who built empires from inside concrete closets and ain't trying to watch nobody tear it down. They ready. They waiting. They restless." Lucky's fingers tapped on the table. "Restless men with power is dangerous. That's why we here," Champ said, finishing his drink and setting the glass down with a small, controlled clink to make sure all that restlessness goes somewhere useful. Before anybody could respond, Big Momma Joyce's voice cut through the room like a bell. "Y'all bring yourselves to this table now," she called from the doorway. Food hot, patience cold. They moved. Senoj Cartel or not, killers or not, college-educated or hood-made, they all obeyed that voice. Chairs scraped, phones disappeared, laptops closed, drones, guns, drones that were guns. All the tools of their trade shut down for a moment as they took their seats. Big Momma Joyce came in last, wiping her hands on her apron. She looked around the table slowly, taking them in one by one. Miracle, Lucky, Kato, Uncle TJ slipping back in, Rev lay at one end, Champ near the middle, cousins and in-laws filling the spaces between. But there were empty chairs too. 2 seats side by side, untouched place settings glinting under the chandelier. Tommy and Thomas. Their chairs never got moved, never got filled. Not by anybody else, not even for show. Big Momma Joyce walked to the head of the table and placed both hands on the back of her chair, but she didn't sit yet. "Before we eat," she said, voice low but heavy, "we gon' speak names." Silence fell. Even the music seemed to hush. "We gon' speak the ones behind bars. We gon' speak the ones in the ground. We gon' speak the ones that ain't make it home this year 'cause they protected what we got." Her eyes flashed. "And then, after we honor 'em, we gon' talk about who tried to kill my blood and still breathing like they got a choice." A murmur ran through the table. Kato felt something twist in his chest. He'd heard pieces on the way in. Who hit in Miami? A nephew shot. Sicilian whispers floating around like ghosts. Big Mama bowed her head. Everyone followed, some out of faith, some out of habit, some out of fear. "Lord," she said, "we thank you for this food, this house, this family. We thank you for protection even when we didn't deserve it. We thank you for money, even when we ain't know how to handle it. We thank you for power, even when it corrupted us." Her fingers tightened on the chair back. "And we ask you now for one more thing." She lifted her head, eyes wide open, staring dead at the far wall like she was looking through it into some other realm. Clarity on our enemies. Nobody moved. "In Miami, they came for ours," she said. "Shot my sister's boy, left him on that pavement like trash. They thought, 'cause they moved with Italians and FBI paperwork, we was gonna let it slide." Her lips twisted into something that wasn't a smile. "We ain't never slid. We don't know how to." She straightened up fully now, letting go of the chair. "Don Salvatore Scarpini," she said, tasting the name like poison. "Head of the Sicilian East Coast line. Been dipping his beak in waters that don't belong to him. Been whispering with some of these same politicians we feed. Been thinking, 'cause he got history in this country, he can erase ours." Champ's eyes flickered. He already knew the name, probably knew the man personally. The law world and the underworld overlapped more than people realized. Rev Lay's hand moved slowly over his Bible. Lucky's fingers stopped tapping. Kato's jaw locked. Big Momma Joyce looked at each of them in turn. "Tonight," she said, "we decide if that old white devil keep breathing, or if the Senoj Cartel remind the world what happened when you touch ours." A chill went through the room. Thanksgiving dinner stopped being a family event. It became a war council in disguise. "In a minute, I'ma let y'all eat," Big Mama said. "But first, I want to hear from my people. From my shooter, from my hacker, from my lawyer, from my messenger, from my soldier." She pointed, one by one. "Kato, Lucky, Champ, Reverend, TJ, Miracle. All y'all got a role in this." She pulled her chair out, sat down slowly, never breaking eye contact with them. "The Sicilians ain't just street trash," she continued. "They connected. Old money, old secrets. Got they claws in the same government we've been feeding." She folded her hands on the table. "But this world," she said quietly, This world belonged to the ones who decide who get to breathe and who got to bleed. She let the words hang there, weighty as a death sentence. Now, she said, voice dropping into something almost gentle, tell Big Mama how we gon' ruin they Thanksgiving. Cato felt all eyes drift his way for a moment. He didn't speak yet. He just inhaled slow, the smell of turkey and gunpowder memories mixing in his lungs, mind already drawing maps, plotting routes, picturing exits and entry points around a man he hadn't even seen yet. Don Salvatore Scarpini. He might not know it, but his last holiday had already started. And the family was home. Chapter 2. The Thanksgiving Table of Wolves. Silence settled over the dining room, not the peaceful kind, but the kind that came right before somebody pulled a trigger in a crowded room. Every face at the table sharpened just a little, like each person had just slipped into the version of themselves the world didn't get to see. Cato leaned back in his chair, letting the energy swirl. He liked to read a room before he spoke. Always had. You could tell who was scared, who was lying, who was plotting, all by the way their eyes moved when death got mentioned. Lucky closed his laptop halfway, eyes shining with mischief and adrenaline. Miracle slid her tablet aside and folded her arms. Champ polished his glasses like the news didn't shake him at all. But the twitch in his jaw said otherwise. Rev Lay touched his Bible like he was trying to bless a table full of sinners but knew the blessing wouldn't stick. TJ cracked his knuckles one by one like he was unscrewing the lids off 6 jars of trouble. Big Momma Joyce didn't say another word. Not yet. She just sat there, arms folded, daring the family to show her who they really were when their blood was on the line. The mantel clock ticked. The chandelier hummed. Somewhere in the kitchen, a pot lid rattled gently from simmering pressure. Miracle was the first to speak. Whoever made that call, they want war. Miracle's voice was calm, but her eyes were violent. Controlled anger, the kind that didn't yell. It executed. They didn't just go after Marcus, she said. They went after the family image. Same thing, TJ muttered. No, Miracle corrected. It's bigger. Marcus wasn't pushing weight. He wasn't running guns. He wasn't touching street business. He was finishing his degree. He was the face. She tapped her nails on the table. A Jones who wasn't dirty. A Jones they couldn't pin a damn thing on. Champ nodded slowly. He was your clean PR, your legit future. Lucky frowned. So you saying this wasn't personal? I'm saying the Sicilians wanted to see if we still bleed, Miracle said. Wanted to test the myth. She glanced at Big Momma Joyce. They wanted to see if Senoj got soft. Joyce didn't respond. She didn't have to. Her expression said what her mouth didn't. We don't do soft. Lucky speaks. The sky talked to me first. Lucky leaned forward, tapping a few keys on his laptop until a map flickered onto the screen. First thing I did when I heard Marcus was hit, I started listening. He zoomed in on Miami streets glowing with little moving dots. These are cell pings, he said. Burner phones. You know the ones the Italians swear they know how to hide behind. Cato leaned in a little, studying the patterns. He recognized organized movement, the kind that didn't belong to kids or freelancers. Lucky pointed at one dot circle in the neighborhood near where Marcus was shot. This one, he said. It stops moving exactly 9 minutes before Marcus was hit. Then it jumps on the highway. Fast, straight toward Biscayne. Guess who else had a property out that way? Miracle answered first. Scarpini. Lucky nodded slowly. Don Salvatore Scarpini. Then he pointed again. And these 3, he said, tapping at more moving dots. They all came in from different places, but they left in formation, like a damn marching band. Big Momma Joyce didn't blink. How close we talking? Close enough that the shooter ain't come from the street, Lucky said. Came from a rooftop, precise, military precise, not some random Miami shooter. Champ's eyebrows lifted. If the Sicilians using contractors now, That changes the legal landscape. Oh, they using them, Lucky said. And whoever they hired texted one of Scarpini's guys one time, just once. But once was enough. He tapped one last dot that blinked red. This number came from Italy. 2 days before the shooting. Never seen in Miami before. And it bounced off a tower half a mile from the hit. Cato's fingers drummed softly on the table. Patterns, timelines, distance, windows of opportunity. His mind was already running through the shot's logistics. Height, angle, wind, exit. This wasn't sloppy work. This was a statement. Champ stands. The law already knows. Champ finally set his glass aside and rose to his feet like he was addressing a jury. Let me tell y'all something, he said. FBI was in Miami before the body was even cold. His voice softened into something more dangerous. This wasn't just a gang hit. This had federal fingerprints, the type that don't show up in reports. Miracle tilted her head. Meaning what? Meaning the Sicilians are whispering to the wrong ears, Champ said. Meaning FBI brass gave someone the okay to let this happen. TJ let out a low whistle. So the feds dirty too? Champ gave him a look. TJ, all the feds dirty. These just ain't our dirty. The table buzzed with mutters. Rev Lay exhaled, long and slow. The brothers ain't gone like that. That why I'm here, Champ said. To warn y'all, whatever you planning, whoever you planning on hitting, FBI expects it. They watching. Cato's eyes narrowed. They watching us specifically. Champ smiled, and it wasn't warm. Son, they've been watching this family since the day Thomas and Tommy flipped that first prison yard. Lucky snorted. And ain't nobody stopped us yet. Champ pointed at him. And that, boy, is what scares them. Rev Lay. The inside been waiting for this. Rev Lay stood now, smoothing his suit, the white pastor's collar sharp against dark skin. The brothers know everything, he said quietly. Word spread like gospel. They say Scarpini losing control of his people. They say he's scared of being replaced. They say he desperate. He looked directly at Cato. They say he ain't moving like a Don no more. He moving like prey. Cato didn't blink. Prey meant predictable. Predictable meant killable. What Tommy say? Miracle asked. Rev Lay's voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. He said, "Tell my family the world gotta learn again. Tell them we choose who breathe." A chill washed through the room. And Thomas? TJ asked. Rev Lay hesitated, then repeated the message exactly as given. He said, "I want that man gone before Christmas, and I want the world to know we did it." Big Momma Joyce didn't smile, but her eyes lit like fire-catching gas. Big Momma Joyce. We gon' do this my way. She finally stood, slow, heavy, powerful. Her presence filled the room. You know why other cartels fall? She asked. 'Cause they let anger lead. Anger sloppy. Anger gets you buried. She looked at Cato first. You, she said. My blade. You gon' lead the outside team. Cato nodded once. Then she turned to Lucky. You gon' find every crack in that Don's world. His homes, his wives, his side pieces, his offshore accounts. You gon' drown him before we even touch him. Lucky grinned. Oh, that's easy. Miracle, Joyce said, turning. You gon' hit the politicians, whisper in their ears, make 'em panic, make 'em turn on the Sicilians before we even light the fuse. Miracle's eyes sharpened. Gladly. Rev Lay, Joyce said. Tell my boys inside to open the gates, not for a prison break, for pressure. Let every Sicilian soldier locked up feel the ground shift. Rev Lay murmured, Consider it delivered. And Champ, she said, facing the attorney last, you gon' be my shield. Any paper try to touch us, you burn it. Any judge try to bark, you muzzle him. Any politician get bold, you remind them who paid for their seat. Champ smirked. Already ahead of you. She sat back down, slow and regal. Tonight, she said, we finalize the plan. Tomorrow we start. And by Christmas, she took a breath, let it out like prophecy. Scarpini blood gone stained the snow. The table didn't erupt. It didn't cheer. It didn't roar. It grew colder, sharper, hungrier. This wasn't excitement. It was certainty. Cato finally leaned forward, speaking for the first time since the chapter began. Then let's start with where he sleeps. The room went silent, and the war began. Chapter 3. The Assassination Blueprint. The room tightened around Cato's words like the walls themselves were leaning in to hear the plan. Big Momma Joyce didn't interrupt. Champ stopped sipping. Lucky closed the laptop fully. Even the candles seemed to freeze, flames standing straight and still. Cato rested his forearms on the table, fingers interlocked, voice low and even. Where a man sleeps is where he's most honest. You want to kill a Don, Cato said. You don't chase him in the streets. You don't hit him at a meeting. Mafia expects that. They keep soldiers in front and behind. He tapped the table twice. Nah, you get him where he thinks nobody watching. You get him where he sleep. Lucky smirked. See? This is why you my favorite cousin. Your brains stay evil. Miracle glared but didn't disagree. Cato continued. Scarpini got 3 known residences, he said. 1 in Queens, 1 in Miami, 1 in Atlanta. Champ raised a brow. He keeps a place here. Everybody powerful keep a place in Atlanta, Cato said. It's the New York of corruption. You know that better than anybody. Champ nodded slowly. Point taken. Cato lifted one finger. But Scarpini ain't in none of those homes right now. Lucky leaned forward. Then where we hiding? Under federal protection. Rev Lay sucked his teeth. Lord have mercy. Miracle frowned. Witness protection? Cato shook his head. No, private protection, a special division the feds use for informants too valuable to lose but too dangerous to move. Big Mama's eyes narrowed. How you know that? Cato didn't blink. 'Cause I killed one last year. That shut the room all the way down. Lucky let out a low whistle. Fam, you out here killing federal ghosts? Wasn't supposed to be a federal ghost, Cato said. But he talked too much. Feds tucked him away. I found him anyway. Miracle leaned in, voice quiet. So what you saying is, this ain't impossible. Cato met her eyes. I'm saying I done it before. Lucky. I got eyes on his hideout already. Lucky opened the guitar case beside him, but instead of strings, tiny drone parts gleamed like teeth. He pulled out a small device, half the size of a soda can, and placed it on the table. This my baby, he said proudly. This ain't even hit the black market yet. Custom tech, modified blade rotation, thermal camera, silent pockets, GPS ghosting. It'd fly low enough to look like a damn bird and high enough to disappear in the clouds. TJ whistled. Boy, you dangerous. Lucky smirked. Only on weekdays. He tapped the drone's casing. I got this thing skimming the North Atlanta corridor last night just 'cause I felt the vibes were off. Guess who it picked up? He clicked his laptop. A live feed popped up, a sprawling estate in North Buckhead. Gates, guards, black SUVs, unmarked surveillance vans. Lucky zoomed in on one window, where men in suits moved with coordinated military precision. That's a federal safe house, Champ said immediately. Tier 3, Lucky added, almost bored. Not the top, not the bottom, right in the middle. Perfect for Scarpini. Cato studied the footage. How many entrances? 4, Lucky replied. 2 secured by feds, 2 hidden and only known by deep state types. You mapped them. Lucky grinned. I've been mapping them since we walked into this house. Champ, we can't just hit a safe house. Champ slid his chair back and stood up, pacing like he was in court again. The moment the first shot fires, half the alphabet soup agencies in America show up. FBI, DHS, ATF, maybe even CIA. So? Lucky shrugged. So, Champ snapped, we need a legal fog. Miracle tilted her head. Meaning? We need chaos, Champ said. Something that forces the feds to reroute resources, divert attention, something that keeps them guessing. Cato nodded. A distraction. Champ pointed at him. Exactly. Rev Lay spoke up softly. The inside helping? Champ hesitated. Inside could help, if we time it right. Lucky crossed his arms. Okay, lawyer man, what kind of distraction? Champ took a breath. One that makes every law enforcement officer in Atlanta look the other way for at least 12 minutes. Cato nodded again. 12 minutes could be a lifetime if planned right. What kind of distraction buys 12 minutes? Miracle asked. Champ's mouth twisted. An explosion. The room froze. Big Momma Joyce arched one eyebrow, not in disapproval, more like she was gauging the weight of the word. Where? Miracle asked. Champ stopped pacing. Where it hurts but don't kill innocents, he said. They got public buildings, training sites, safe storage facilities. Lucky snapped his fingers. I know the perfect one. Cato turned to him. Where? Lucky grinned like the devil got a new pair of boots. Atlanta PD's seized property warehouse. Miracle's eyes lit with recognition. Where they store all the evidence. Yep, Lucky said. Guns, cash, confiscated servers. If something blows there, feds panic, cops scramble. Nobody knows if it's cartel retaliation, internal corruption, or terrorism. TJ nodded slowly. That'll distract him. Cato focused again. What about casualties? Lucky clicked to a diagram. Night staff is minimal. 2 guards, 1 tech. If we time it at shift change, nobody even inside. Champ exhaled. That'll work. Big Momma Joyce. Y'all talking like boys. Talk like killers. She sat forward, hands clasped. I like the distraction. I like the pressure. But I need the kill clean. I need it biblical. I need the world to whisper Senoj, the way they whisper Mafia, only with fear. Her eyes slid to Cato. How'd you hitting him? Cato inhaled, slow and deep. Quiet, he said. No bombs, no fire, no messy street shootout. Then how? Miracle leaned in. He folded his hands again. Ghost kill, he said. 1 shot, 1 entry, 1 exit, no trace, no cameras, no witnesses. Lucky blinked. You know the feds got motion sensors, body heat scanners, and facial AI in those houses, right? Cato didn't flinch. And I know how to beat 'em. How? Champ demanded. Cato raised his eyes. By going through the ground. Silence slammed into the room. Miracle sat back hard. You shitting me? Dead serious, Cato said. Buckhead houses built in the 80s, old sewage systems underneath, tunnels, maintenance shafts, forgotten exits. Lucky sat up straight. You talking infiltration? Cato nodded. I'm talking coming up from the floors, not the doors. Rev Lay rubbed his forehead. This boy. Lucky's grin stretched from ear to ear. I can map the tunnels, automatically. Tonight. Champ stared like he was witnessing genius and insanity having a baby. Big Momma Joyce leaned back in her chair and smiled. A slow, wicked smile full of approval. There we go, she murmured. That's my blade. The blueprint is born. Cato spoke with finality. We hit 3 places at once. Underground, online, inside the system. Lucky nodded. And at the warehouse. We give Scarpini nowhere to hide, Miracle added. Champ stepped forward. And after? Cato's expression didn't change. After, he go to sleep for the last time. Rev Lay whispered a prayer under his breath. Big Momma Joyce placed both hands on the table. Then it's settled, she said. Tomorrow, we start feeding the wolves. Chapter 4. Prison Kingdoms Move First. Night rolled across Georgia like a velvet hammer, quiet but heavy. Atlanta buzzed on the surface, clubs glowing, highways humming. But under that glitter, two separate kingdoms began to awaken. Two worlds, two thrones, one bloodline. Because when the Senoj Cartel made moves, they didn't start with the streets. They started with the prisons. Prison World. Number 1. USP Atlanta, the Federal Crown. Tommy Jones, head of the gangster disciples inside the feds. Rev Lay pulled into the visitation lot of USP Atlanta, his tires crunching gravel as the moonlight glinted off the razor wire. The guard at the gate didn't even pretend to question him. "Reverend Lay," he said quickly, opening the barrier. "He's expecting you." Nobody ever said Tommy's name, not even staff. In the feds, saying a man's name was the same as invoking a storm. Rev Lay walked through 2 locked gates, a metal detector, and 3 different checkpoints until he reached the inner visitation room. A CO buzzed the door open. "Keep it short, Reverend," the officer said nervously. "They watching everything tonight." "Oh, I know," Reverend Lay murmured. And then Tommy entered. Not escorted, not flanked, just walked in like the federal system belonged to him. Tommy was massive, broad as a doorway, skin and inked with the coded language of the gangster disciples. A 6-pointed star on his forearm, pitchforks on his shoulder, history carved into his flesh. He sat down across from Reverend Lay, elbows resting wide, eyes sharp as razors. "Talk," Tommy said. No greeting, no warmth, just command. Rev Lay opened his hollowed-out Bible and slid an envelope and USB toward him. "From Big Momma Joyce," he said. "And Lucky." Tommy didn't touch him. He stared Rev Lay down first. "They got the nerve to hit Marcus," Tommy said, voice low, dangerous. "In Miami, on Thanksgiving week." Rev Lay nodded. It was Scarpini's order. Tommy clenched his jaw, muscle ticking. "The feds think they know what's about to happen," Tommy said. "They watching, they listening, they waiting for us to retaliate." Rev Lay hesitated. "They expect something small." Tommy smirked. Slow, cruel. "We ain't small." He tapped the back wall lightly, 4 taps, spaced out. Inside the federal system, that was a signal. 4 taps meant activate the nation. Tommy stood up. "The GDs run this side," he said. "Not the Italians, not the feds. When we push, the whole system move." Rev Lay swallowed. Tommy continued. "Tonight, all federal yards checking in. Nobody with Sicilian ties sleeping comfortable. And tomorrow morning," he smiled without joy, "Scarpini nephew in protective custody gonna have a bad accident." He took the envelope. He took the USB. And as he walked toward the exit door, he said without turning, "Tell my brother move the state. Tell him the fed's ready." Prison World Number 2. Jackson State Prison, the Georgia Throne. Thomas Jones, leader of the 5 percenters and tied with the Muslims. 2 hours later, Reverend Lay was on another highway headed south toward Jackson State Prison, one of the roughest state facilities in Georgia. Different world. Different politics, different kingdom. At the gate, the guard called for backup before buzzing him in. "They waiting for you, Reverend. Pod C3. Jackson wasn't clean and orderly like the feds. Jackson was raw, sweat, noise, pressure. A hive of violence with a beating heart that never stopped. Inside the visitation room, the door opened and Thomas walked in. Where Tommy was brawn and steel, Thomas was intellect and focus. Tall, lean, eyes sharp like they could cut scripture. Prayer beads around his wrist, tucked half under the sleeve of his khaki uniform. Neat beard, calm posture. Thomas didn't run with a gang. He ran with a nation. He was a 5 percenter, respected by Muslims, feared by rivals, obeyed by thousands on the state side. "Peace, God," Thomas said, sitting across from Reverend Lay. "Peace," Reverend Lay answered. Thomas placed one hand on the table, palm down, calm, centered, deadly. "What news you bring?" he asked. Rev Lay slid the message envelope across. "Scarpini ordered Marcus hit," he said softly. "Tommy already moving the federal side. Big Mama wants the state ready." Thomas nodded once. "Understand this," he said. "In the state, Sicilians don't got soldiers. They got pawns, weak ones." Rev Lay leaned in. "You think there will be resistance?" Thomas smiled peacefully. "Everyone has resistance until God says move." That was scarier than Tommy's rage. Thomas stood and walked toward the wall, tapping lightly. 3 soft knocks. Inside the state system, it meant the righteous rise. Instantly, Reverend Lay heard voices outside the visitation room shift. Orders being whispered, lookouts being posted, men moving in formation. Thomas returned to the table. "By sunrise," he said, "every Sicilian affiliate at Jackson will be removed. No riots, no noise, just balance." "And the Muslims?" Reverend Lay asked. "They're aligned," Thomas said. "The imams know, the brothers know. We move as one." He leaned closer. "And tomorrow morning, before first count?" He tapped the envelope. "Scarpini's nephew in the federal pen will scream. Then choke, then silence." Rev Lay felt a chill travel his spine. Thomas placed a hand on his shoulder. "Tell my mother," he said quietly. "The state is ready." Relay leaves with 2 worlds moving behind him. He stepped outside, the night suddenly colder, heavier. In one direction lay the federal kingdom, Tommy and the GDs tightening fists around Scarpini's bloodline. In the other direction lay the state kingdom, Thomas and the 5%ers preparing a purge nobody outside would ever understand. 2 brothers, 2 prisons, 2 armies. 1 family? Rev Lay whispered a prayer as he started his van. "Lord, watch over the innocent and forgive the rest of us." He pulled off into darkness. Behind him, the prison lights flickered, inside both systems. The purge had already begun. Chapter 5. The Atlanta Offensive. The sky over Atlanta turned charcoal black by the time Cato stepped out of the Senoj compound and into the cold night air. The wind carried that late November bite, the kind that made streetlights glow harsher and engines sound meaner. He took a long breath, letting the chill cut through the noise in his mind. Tommy moving the feds, Thomas moving the state, prison shaking awake like twin beasts. Now it was time for the outside world to feel the quake. He opened the back of the Tahoe and rolled out a duffel bag that didn't look like much, but inside was enough firepower to start another civil war. Cato wasn't flashy. He didn't need gold-plated guns or YouTube stunt rifles. Everything he carried was practical, quiet, efficient. Death should be silent, even when loud. He checked his gear one last time. Suppressed SIG MCX, black nitrile gloves, thermal mask, a short-barrel 12-gauge for insurance, 2 burner phones, 2 license plates, a folded blueprint Lucky printed 20 minutes ago. He zipped the bag shut. Engine running, mind calm, heart iced over. Tonight wasn't about rage, it was about sending a message. Lucky's call. They move in now. As he slid behind the wheel, his burner vibrated. "Lucky." Cato answered without speaking. Lucky's voice came through quick, clipped electric. "Cousin, my drones just picked up something crispy." "Talk." 3 Sicilian SUVs leaving a safe house near Johns Creek, blacked out Escalades, all tinted, moving in convoy formation. "Where they headed?" "Downtown. Looks like they meeting with somebody important. My guess? Scarpini's liaison." Cato pulled out of the compound and hit the interstate. "You got confirmation?" "I got more than that," Lucky said. "One of the SUVs is carrying a lieutenant. His name in Scarpini's circle is Franco Ricci, real cold one. Been running soldiers for 20 years. And the others? Bodyguards, drivers, maybe 1 weak link, maybe." Lucky paused. "And Cato, they armed heavy." Cato smirked. "Perfect. The ambush location, I-20 West. That dead man's lane. Atlanta highways twisted like veins, and Cato knew them all. He didn't want crowded exits or heavy traffic. He wanted isolation. Blind corners, dark stretches. He picked a spot on I-20 the locals called Dead Man's Lane, a half-mile stretch where trees blocked sightlines and cops rarely patrolled. Lucky's voice came through again. "They 5 minutes out." Cato parked under an overpass, killed his lights, and stepped out the truck. His boots crunched gravel softly. The world was quiet enough to hear the hum of distant engines. He pulled a small device from his pocket, a black puck with a single red button. An EMP pulse generator, Lucky built. Illegal enough to get a man buried under a federal prison. He placed it under the guardrail, checked the timer, and walked back to his truck. "Lucky," he said. "Drone's online." 3 faint beeps chirped through the phone. Lucky whispered, "Birds in the sky, baby. I'm your angel tonight." Cato slid the suppressed MCX out the back window and aimed it low. "Good. Keep eyes on the lead." "The convoy approaches." Lucky's voice dropped to a whisper. He was in that hacker zone now, almost emotionless. Cameras picking up movement. 2, 3 SUVs. 30 seconds. Cato exhaled slow. The hum of engines grew louder. Black Escalade number 1 turned the corner, then number 2, then number 3. All tight formation, all rolling at 70 miles per hour. Lucky breathed. 15 seconds. You good? Cato cracked his neck. Light me up. 3, 2, 1. Lucky hit a key on his laptop. The EMP puck detonated with a sharp thunk. Not a boom, not a flash, just a pulse. Every SUV's lights flickered. Dashboard screens glitched, computers blinked, power steering died. The convoy faltered, engines coughed, brakes locked, and then crash. The first SUV slammed sideways into the concrete barrier, tires screeching. The second rear-ended the first with a violent crunch. The third swerved into the trees, metal ripping through bark. Lucky whooped in Cato's ear. "Oh, shit! Cato, you did it!" Cato stepped out the truck and walked toward the wreck calmly. "Stay on the line," he murmured. "Already here with popcorn." The takedown. The first Sicilian guard staggered out of the lead SUV, disoriented, gun half raised. Cato didn't break stride. One suppressed shot, right between the eyes. The man dropped like a puppet with its strings cut. 2 more spilled out the second SUV, yelling in Italian. Cato hit one in the throat. The second fired wild, bullets sparking off the guardrail. Cato rolled low, came up beside him and... crack! Rifle butt to the jaw. Suppressed shot to the heart. The trees rustled. A surviving bodyguard crawled out of the third SUV, gasping, gun in hand. Cato shot the gun out his grip. The man screamed. Cato didn't. He walked up slowly, calm, cold, professional. "Where's Scarpini?" Cato asked. The man spat blood. "Vaffanculo." Cato shot him in the kneecap. The scream echoed through the trees. "I'll ask again," Cato said. "Where's Scarpini?" The guard wheezed. He's moving houses, Fed agents, private ones. They transferring him tonight, midnight, no address. Only the lieutenant knows." Cato stared. "The lieutenant," he repeated. He looked around. "Lucky. Which car was Ricci in?" Lucky clicked keys fast. "Middle SUV." Cato kicked broken glass aside and yanked the rear door open. Franco Ricci was inside, slumped forward, trying to load a pistol with shaking hands. Cato didn't hesitate. He grabbed the man by the collar and ripped him out onto the concrete. Ricci gasped, choking, coughing blood. "Well, wait, don't..." Cato knelt beside him. "You ordered the Miami hit," he said simply. Ricci started to babble, to deny, to bargain. Cato didn't care. He shot him once through the forehead, Clean, quiet, message delivered. Lucky. You just changed the whole map. Lucky breathed through the phone, tone tense now. Cato, you just wiped out Scarpini's entire second line. Cato wiped Ricci's blood from his gloves. Good, he said. Now he's blind. Lucky's voice shook with adrenaline. And angry. Cato stood up, looking over the wreckage. Anger makes him stupid, he said. So what now? Lucky asked. Cato walked back toward the Tahoe. Now, he said, we find out where they moving him at midnight. Lucky cursed under his breath. You know that's locked behind 10 firewalls, 2 federal servers, and Jesus Christ himself? Cato opened the driver door. Then you better call Jesus first, he said, 'cause we hitting that house tomorrow. Lucky laughed breathlessly. On it. Cato started the engine. As he pulled onto the highway, the bodies cooling behind him, he said quietly, Scarpini gonna feel this in his soul. Chapter 6, Miracle's Mask. Political seduction, dark strategy, urban power chess. Miracle Jones didn't drive to Washington like she was visiting politicians. She drove like she owned them. The black Audi A7 purred up I-85, windows tinted so dark the car looked like a moving shadow. Her nails tapped the steering wheel to the rhythm of her thoughts, sharp, calculated, patient. Where Cato killed problems, Miracle neutralized them. Where Lucky hacked systems, Miracle infiltrated them. Where Tommy and Thomas ruled the inside, Miracle dominated the outside. The world of handshakes, smiles, whispers in ballrooms. She was the Jones who wore silk instead of steel, gold instead of gunmetal, but make no mistake, Miracle was just as dangerous as her brothers, just prettier. The fundraiser. A night with America's future. By 9:15 p.m., she was pulling into the underground parking of the Jefferson Luxury Hotel in D.C. Tonight's event was invitation only. Congressmen, lobbyists, Pentagon contractors, oil giants, media snakes dressed as wolves, and, most importantly, politicians secretly funded by the Sicilian mob. Miracle pulled down the mirror and fixed her lipstick, deep red like a warning. She smoothed the gold silk dress hugging her curves and adjusted the diamond earrings that glittered like sharp promises. Then she stepped out of the car with the confidence of a queen entering a weak man's castle. Inside the ballroom, chandeliers shimmered overhead. Champagne flutes clinked. Fake smiles floated like perfume. Miracle's presence sucked the oxygen out the room the moment she entered. Heads turned. Whispers followed. Men straightened their ties. Women checked their posture. Because Miracle Jones didn't just walk into places, she changed atmospheres. Congressman Lewis. Scared money. She spotted Congressman Robert Lewis near the bar, a man who owed the Jones family so many favors he should have been wearing a Senoj tattoo instead of a flag pin. Salt and pepper hair, weak chin, trembling hands that tried hard to appear steady. The Sicilians had him under their wing. Or so they thought. Miracle slid up beside him, voice low and velvet smooth. Long time no see, Congressman. Lewis jumped, spilled a little liquor. Miracle, I wasn't expecting you. Oh, you were, she said, smiling just enough to unsettle him. But you hoped I wouldn't show. He swallowed hard. You're here about Miami. Miracle leaned close enough for her perfume to make him forget his wife existed. I'm here because you made a mistake, she whispered. His face went pale. What mistake? You let the Sicilians get comfortable, she said. You let them whisper in your ear. Promise you favors. Promise you protection. She placed a hand lightly on his arm, nails grazing his skin. You forgot who put you in office. Who funded your last campaign? Who hid your indiscretion with the intern? Lewis's throat bobbed. This isn't my fault, he stuttered. Salvatore told me he had everything under control. Miracle's smile sharpened. Scarpini lied, she said. And now Marcus is fighting for his life, a college kid. My cousin. Lewis's voice cracked. I know what you did and didn't do, Miracle said, voice calm. But you're going to fix something for me. Lewis looked like a man being held underwater. What do you need? He whispered. Miracle leaned in, lips brushing his ear. I need Scarpini isolated. I need his protection stripped. I need the federal transport list for midnight. Lewis froze. That's classified at the highest level, he whispered. Not to me, Miracle said softly. Not tonight. He swallowed again, nervous, sweating, cornered. I can get partial access, he said. But the transport officers, they have a rotating code. Miracle cupped his chin and forced him to look at her. Robert, she said sweetly, I don't need excuses. Her smile vanished. I need results. Lewis nodded, defeated. I'll get you the list. Good. She released him. Now go mingle, smile, drink, pretend you're useful. He scurried away. Miracle watched him go, her expression blank. She wasn't done. Not even close. The lobbyist. I know what you did last winter. Her next target was Harold Stanwyck, a lobbyist who funneled Sicilian money into defense contracts. He laughed too loud, drank too much, cheated too often, and lied even more. In other words, he was perfect prey. Miracle approached him from behind. Hi, Harold. He turned, drunk grin forming. Miracle, my darling. She slapped him, hard. Not enough to attract the room's attention, but enough to rattle his teeth. He blinked, shocked. What was that? You stole from us, she said. His face fell. You thought nobody would find out. You really thought you could skim from the Jones family? His voice trembled. It was only 200,000. Stealing is stealing, Miracle said. But this ain't about the money. This about the disrespect. He looked like he was about to faint. Well, what do you want me to do? Miracle took his champagne flute and sipped it casually. I want you to shift all your Sicilian clients, quietly. Move their money into blind accounts. Freeze their influence. Starve their political reach. He swallowed. What if they find out? They won't, Miracle said, because when we bury them, they won't be around to complain. Harold nodded vigorously. I'll start tonight. That's my good boy, Miracle said, handing him back his drink. The final play. Poison in the room. Miracle walked back toward a table of officials, 2 aides, a junior senator, and a retired bureau chief. All Sicilian puppets, all smiling like they ran the world. She walked past them and brushed her fingertips over the rim of each of their glasses. None of them noticed. They laughed, they talked, they toasted. 5 minutes later, 2 of them stood abruptly, gasping. One collapsed into his chair. One staggered toward the restroom. The junior senator vomited blood into his napkin. Miracle didn't even turn. It wasn't lethal, just a chemical reminder, a warning. Sit down before we sit you down forever. She whispered to herself, now Scarpini's supporters don't know who to fear. A smile curved across her lips. But they learning. The call from Champ. Her phone buzzed. Champ. You stirring up Washington? Miracle. Smiling. They needed a wake-up call. Champ, Lewis sent the transport file. I'm decoding now. Miracle's eyes sharpened. Scarpini's midnight move was now exposed, and tomorrow, the hit would be inevitable. She ended the call, walked to the balcony of the ballroom, and stared out at the Capitol dome glowing in the night. These men think they the country, she whispered. They forgot who feeds it. Her phone buzzed again, this time from Lucky. Lucky. Hey, cuz. Cato just wiped out a whole convoy. Miracle's smile widened. Good, she said. The wolves are eaten. Chapter 7. Lucky's Drone War. Lucky Jones didn't look like the future of warfare, not at first glance. He looked like a high-energy little brother who joked too much, stayed up too late. and forgot where he put his charger half the time. But behind all that, Lucky was a walk-in cyber weapon the moment Miracle texted him that the midnight transport file was coming. He locked every door in his penthouse, dimmed the lights, and powered up his personal command center. 3 curved screens, 6 custom pads, 2 cooling towers, half a dozen external processors humming like hungry beasts, and a drone rack mounted on the wall like an art display. He cracked his knuckles. Time to make these Italians cry. Lucky's lab, the digital bunker. Lucky slid into his gamer-style chair, headphones on, eyes focused. Monitors lit up. Heat maps. Satellite overlays. Federal data streams. Local police chatter. 2 hacked Homeland Security channels. And 1 encrypted frequency he stole from a former NSA contractor who owed him a favor. On the main screen, a secure channel flashed red CHAMPATTSCHMENTSENT. Lucky clicked. A heavily encrypted file crawled open. Congressman Lewis actually came through, Lucky whispered. Damn, Miracle be terrifying when she want to. He tapped a few keys, stripping away encryption. Then, beep. File clear. A list appeared. Federal Prison Transport. Tonight. 12:04 a.m. Origin. Classified Safe House. Buckhead. Destination. Atlanta Secure Federal Holding Annex. Payload. 1 high-value federal asset. Escort. 4 units. 9 officers. 2 armored SUVs. Lucky leaned back, eyebrows raised. Damn, they moving Scarpini like he the Pope. But he wasn't worried. He had an advantage the feds didn't. His machines weren't legal, his ethics weren't normal, and his mind wasn't human. The call to Cato. Lucky dialed. Cato answered with that dead silent breathing. I got it, Lucky said. Midnight transport. Buckhead Safe House to the Federal Annex. Details? Escort squad deep, Lucky replied. But I'm hacking into their route tonight. Give me 20 minutes. How many drones? 6, Lucky said. 2 Phantoms, 2 Thermals, 1 microblade, and 1 new one I ain't named yet. What that one do? Lucky smirked. It erase evidence. Cato let out a low grunt of approval. That'll do. Then Cato hung up, and Lucky grinned. You gon' kill this man ugly, he whispered at the empty room. I just gotta get you the blueprint. Target number 1, Birmingham Stash House. But Lucky wasn't done. Scarpini's network was too big, too connected, too confident. Time to humble them. Lucky pulled up a live feed from his drone deployed near Birmingham hours earlier. A 2-story warehouse sat behind a trucking dock, Sicilian soldiers guarding the perimeter, cigarettes, guns, cocaine trafficked through commercial freight. Lucky clicked his mic. Okay, baby. You ready for your close-up? He selected Drone Unit Phantom 2. The drone lifted off a rooftop and soared silently through the Alabama night sky. Dark, sleek, whisper soft. Lucky switched to thermal view. Every guard lit up red. Every weapon glowed orange. A perfect outline of the operation. Lucky steered the drone low, just above treetops. Y'all wanted old school mafia, Lucky murmured. But you ain't ready for Generation Z cartel warfare. He hit a switch. The drone opened a small hatch under its belly. A golf ball-sized explosive, custom-made, silent, micro-weighted, dropped. Lucky whispered, "Bless up." Boom! The explosion wasn't loud. It was surgical. The entire warehouse erupted in a controlled blast, roof blown inward, guards thrown back, trucks flipped like toys, flames spiraled into the sky. Lucky watched casually, sipping Red Bull. That's what you get for touching Marcus. He triggered 2 more drones. Drone number 2 dropped a burner phone broadcasting Scarpini's face, just to confuse investigators. Drone number 3 released micro dust that jammed cell signals for a 3-mile radius. Lucky folded his arms. And that's how we destabilize an entire branch of the Sicilian family with one hand. His laptop pinged again. Champ had decoded the rest of the transport clearance. Lucky opened the new message. Damn, this just keeps getting better. The transport route. Now compromised. A map expanded across the screen. The midnight convoy was taking a back route through a low-lit stretch of Northside Drive, just outside downtown. A perfect choke point. No pedestrians, no cameras, no nearby hospitals. Lucky smirked. This a blessing. He zoomed in. A stack of encrypted codes glowed on screen. Lucky began cracking them, fast. 6 minutes later, he had something beautiful. The federal convoy's exact GPS signal, updated live in real time. He called Cato again. We got their route. We got their pace. We got their blind spots. Cato's voice came steady. When's the sweet spot? 12:13 a.m., Lucky said. That's when they go under the Brookwood overpass. Cato paused. Dark under there. Darker with the lights I'm about to kill. How long you need? Lucky cracked his knuckles. 10 minutes. Then I'll be ready. Lucky took a breath. Oh, and Cato? Yeah. Lucky smiled wickedly. Let's make the news tomorrow. Cato hung up. Lucky spun back to his screens. He powered on his final drone. The unnamed one. The evidence eraser. It hummed softly, glowing blue. Lucky whispered, Tonight, we make Scarpini beg God for a second life. Chapter 8. The President kneels. Washington, D.C. didn't sleep. It schemed. Even at midnight, the Capitol dome glowed like a watchful eye, and the marble buildings stood proud like they didn't have skeletons stacked in their basements. But one building was quieter than usual. The White House. Not because things were calm, but because the man living inside it was terrified. President Allen Whitford sat alone in the Oval Office, tie loosened, sweat dampening his collar. His speechwriters had gone home. His handlers were asleep. His chief of staff pretended he had a migraine so he wouldn't have to be present for this meeting. The clock on the wall ticked. 12:01 a.m. The door opened without a knock, and President Whitford flinched. Champion champ! Kendrick stepped inside like he owned the room. Suit immaculate, shoes shining, expression calm but sharp. Behind him came Big Momma Joyce, draped in a black coat lined with fur, scarf around her shoulders, pocketbook in hand. Her movements were slow, regal, deliberate, like she was walking into her living room, not the most powerful office in the country. Whitford stood up too fast, nearly stumbling. Mrs. Joyce, he stammered, I wasn't informed that you... You was informed, Joyce said, lowering herself into the chair directly across from him. You just pretended you ain't see the message. Sit down for your heart stop. He dropped back into his seat, trembling. Champ closed the door and stood behind Joyce like her shadow. You saw the news out Miami, Champ said. You know what happened to Marcus. Whitford swallowed. I did. Very tragic. Tragic? Joyce asked, voice dripping acid. He was a child. My sister's grandbaby. Shot in the head by a Sicilian coward your people protected. It wasn't my direct order. Champ stepped forward. Mr. President, he said softly, we ain't here for excuses. We here for action. Whitford's eyes darted between them. Well, what do you want? Joyce leaned forward, elbows on her knees, looking him dead in his soul. We want that man Scarpini, she said, and we want him without interference. No FBI surprises, no federal blockades, no sudden reroutes. But the FBI, Whitford began. The FBI, Joyce cut in. Work for whoever feeds them. Whitford's lips tightened. We done carried your career on our back from day one, Joyce continued. Who helped bury your scandals when you ran in 2022? Who bought out them photos? Who handled that thing with your brother and that 13-year-old in Delaware? Whitford flinched. He actually clutched his stomach. Champ sighed loudly. Mr. President, you owe the Senoj family more than your pension. You owe them your life. Joyce tapped her fingers against her thigh rhythmically. We ain't never called in our markers before, she said. Not once. This is the first time. The president nodded slowly. I understand. No, Joyce said. You don't. She raised her chin. Tonight, your people gonna try to move Scarpini. Whitford froze solid. How do you... Champ smiled thinly. Your system's secure, but Lucky's brain more secure. Joyce kept going. And you gonna make sure that convoy don't get no backup when Cato dropped the hammer. Whitford's voice squeaked. Drop the... You're not planning to... Joyce cut him off. I ain't planning nothing, baby. The planning done. Champ stepped closer. What we need from you, Champ said, is silence. And misdirection. Misdirection. You gonna announce a national cyber threat alert, Champ said. Say the government network compromised. Say communication lines patchy. Say law enforcement need to stay on standby. Whitford blinked. That will shut down half the federal response teams. Exactly, Joyce said, smiling warmly. Look at you understanding instructions. But, Champ leaned down, eyes hard. You do this, and your legacy stay intact. You hesitate? Well, them Delaware photos ain't my problem no more. Silence. Whitford's breath came shallow. Joyce stood slowly, smoothed her coat, and walked around the desk. With surprising gentleness, she placed a hand on his cheek. You a good man deep down, she said softly. Just soft. And soft men run the world until hard people come knocking. She lowered her hand. And I'm knocking now, Alan. He closed his eyes, nodded once, voice cracking. I'll issue the alert. You gonna do more than that, Joyce said. You gonna create a blackout window, 30 minutes. No traceable comms, no federal pings, no surveillance reroutes. I can do 23 minutes, Whitford whispered. Joyce smiled. That's all Cato need. Champ opened the door for her. Whitford croaked, Will he suffer? Joyce paused, looked back. Baby, she said, voice dipped in honey and death. He put a child in the ground. He gon' meet God shaking. Whitford swallowed again, fear on his breath. Then he asked something stupid. You'll protect me, right? Joyce blinked slow. Only if you follow instructions. Champ nodded to the president, cold and final. Welcome to the family business, Mr. President. The door closed, and the most powerful man in the country exhaled like he'd narrowly survived drowning. Chapter 9. Bloodlines crossing. Before the world feared the Senoj name. Before the prisons bowed. Before drones, silencers, presidents, and assassinations. There were just kids. Kids growing up in Columbus, Georgia. Kids with scraped knees, hollow stomachs, and eyes that saw too much. Kids who didn't choose the streets. The streets chose them. And tonight, while Atlanta trembled under the cartel's warpath, the memories came back in waves. Because every hit, every move, every death they delivered was shaped by the lives they lived before power found them. Cato, the blade forged in silence. Cato sat in the back of his Tahoe after the ambush, engine humming softly, letting his nerves settle before the next mission. Lucky was still in his ear, rambling about updates, but Cato's mind had drifted far away, back to a shotgun house on 30th Avenue in Columbus. He was 9, small, quiet, always quiet. His father stormed through the house drunk, breaking plates, throwing chairs, swinging on shadows. Cato remembered the night the shouting turned to fists, the night his mother hit the floor, the night Cato grabbed a kitchen knife with shaking hands. Nobody knew this part of him. Not Miracle, not Lucky, not even Big Momma Joyce. Only Thomas ever guessed. That night, Cato didn't stab his father, but he stood between them with the knife raised. And he didn't cry. His father blinked, looked at him, saw something cold in the boy's face, and backed out the house. Cato learned something then. Silence was a weapon. Stillness was a threat. Fear didn't need volume. And from that night on, he never raised his voice again. The world heard his violence without him speaking a word. Lucky, the prodigy who couldn't stop seeing the code. Lucky wasn't supposed to be a gangster. He was supposed to be a scholarship kid, a computer lab genius, a gaming prodigy, a mathlete champion, but the universe had a sick sense of humor. At 13, he hacked the Muscogee County School Board servers because they suspended him unjustly. At 14, he hacked the Columbus Police Department's patrol routes after a cousin got picked up. By 15, he cracked the firewall on a state senator's private email. Not for money, not for crime, just to see if he could. When the feds came knocking, they were expecting a grown man, not a boy with a cracked iPhone and a PlayStation controller. Big Momma Joyce bailed him out quietly. Champ sealed the case so deep it vanished, and Lucky realized something. The world was easy, people predictable, codes breakable. When Thomas saw Lucky run circles around a federal interrogation software just for fun, he told Big Mama, "That boy ain't no hacker, he a weapon." Lucky embraced it. By 19, he was building drones. By 21, he was breaking military encryption for cartel operations. By 24, governments feared him quietly. By now, Lucky wasn't just part of the Senoj family. He was its invisible hand of God. Miracle. The smile sharp enough to slit a throat. Miracle Jones had beauty blessed by genetics, but weaponized by survival. She learned early that men heard lies as compliments and truth as insults. Miracle's mother died when she was 7. Not sickness, not drugs, not gangs, politics. A city council member gave her mother a dirty campaign donation. When the story got close to leaking, he panicked and set up a fake robbery. No witnesses, case unsolved. Miracle never forgot his face. At 16, she found his mistress. At 17, she found his offshore accounts. At 18, she sent a flash drive of incriminating evidence to his wife, his opponent, and 3 journalists. The councilman resigned the next day, then disappeared. Nobody ever found him. Miracle didn't kill him. She didn't need to. She smiled at him during a campaign event right before he vanished. That was enough. Big Momma Joyce pulled her aside one day and said, "Baby, beauty ain't the blessing. Control is." Miracle earned her name after that, because every problem she touched disappeared like magic. Tommy and Thomas. 2 kings, 2 kingdoms, 1 blood. Tommy and Thomas weren't twins, but in war, they might as well have been. Tommy grew up scrapping every day. Fist fights, street fights, juvenile hall fights. By the time he hit 19, he was running half the dope flow on Victory Drive. Got caught with a trunk load of cocaine in Tennessee. The feds thought they ended him. They didn't know they were handing him a throne. Inside the federal system, Tommy rose through the ranks of the gangster disciples with terrifying speed. He wasn't just a fighter, he was a strategist. By 25, he was their federal representative. By 30, he was the mind behind a multi-state prison economy. The feds put him behind bars and accidentally gave him an empire. Thomas was different, sharper, cleaner, more methodical. He mastered the Quran before he mastered dope, read Malcolm X before he read street rules. When he got locked up at 20, it wasn't drugs. It was a protest that turned violent, a cause, a movement. Inside, the 5%ers saw him as a scholar, then a teacher, then a leader. He bridged 5%ers with Muslims, united factions that never sat together. He didn't need fists. His words were enough. If Tommy ran the federal underworld, Thomas ran the state universe. 2 brothers, 2 kingdoms, 1 family. And the streets paid tithes to both. Big Momma Joyce, the root of the storm. Every story had a god. For the Senoj Cartel, that was Big Momma Joyce. She wasn't born ruthless. Life hardened her. She buried 2 brothers, buried one husband, buried one child, buried dreams, buried anger, and decided she'd never bury another family member because of someone else's decisions. So she built her own army. Her children, her soldiers, her sister's kids, her advisors, her grandbabies, her future senators, lawyers, killers. Everyone in the family carried a piece of her in their spine, a strand of her strength in their blood, a reflection of her fury in their eyes. Tonight, all those lessons converged. The Senoj family wasn't just fighting a war, they were settling a debt. And every origin story was about to show up in the battlefield. The family phone call. Back in Atlanta, Cato's phone buzzed. One word from Miracle. Ready? Another from Lucky. Road locked. A third from Champ. President compliant. Then Rev Lay, State and Feds primed. And finally, Big Momma Joyce called. Cato answered. Her voice was calm, unshakable. "Baby," she said, "it's time." Chapter 10. The Betrayal from Within. The Senoj family had 2 rules. 1. Never lie to Big Momma Joyce. 2. Never work against the bloodline. Most people followed those rules out of respect. A few followed them out of fear. But every once in a while, a fool forgot. Tonight, that fool was Derrick Jones, a cousin on the far branch of the family tree. He wasn't a killer. He wasn't a boss. He wasn't even loyal. He'd spent his life hovering around the cartel's edges, running errands, flipping stolen cars, doing small-time scams. Useful enough to keep around, harmless enough to ignore, or so they thought. D-Rick makes a move. Inside the Senoj compound, Lucky's drones buzzed quietly through the sky, scanning the perimeter. Cato was preparing for the midnight strike, loading guns and switching plates. Miracle had just landed back in Atlanta, stilettos clicking across the marble floors, adrenaline still humming from her DC performance. That's when Lucky noticed something strange on one of his screens. A phone signal leaving the property, encrypted, rerouting through a foreign server, then another ping dash. A location beacon sent to a blocked Sicilian number. Lucky's eyes widened. "Yo, what the hell?" He zoomed in. Device registered D-Rick's phone. And the message he sent? "Convoy route confirmed. They moving at midnight. Hit 'em first." Lucky froze. Then he whispered, "Oh no, this mother just signed his death certificate." He dialed Miracle instantly. "Miracle, where is he?" Miracle answered on the second ring, sliding off her coat. "What now?" "Miracle, we got a worm." "Talk." "It's D-Rick," Lucky said. "He just dropped the federal transport intel to a Sicilian burner. He trying to tip Scarpini off." Miracle went still. The kind of still that comes before lightning strikes. "Where is he now?" Lucky switched feeds. "South side of the compound, trying to leave through the maintenance trail." Miracle's voice was ice. "Call Cato." "Cato, I'm on him." Cato checked his phone mid-load, saw Miracle's name, answered immediately. "Yeah." "He betrayed the family," she said. "D-Rick, little runner boy. He called the Sicilians." Cato didn't blink. "Location?" Lucky's voice suddenly patched through. "Behind the tool sheds moving toward the woods. I got eyes." "I'll handle it," Cato said, already stepping outside. No emotion, no hesitation, just purpose. The confrontation. D-Rick fumbled with a backpack as he sprinted through the brush, breathing hard. Sweat soaked his shirt. Fear twisted his face. He kept muttering to himself, "I ain't dying for these people. I ain't dying for these people." Branches snapped behind him. He turned. Cato stepped out from the shadows like a ghost, gun down, hands relaxed, expression blank. D-Rick froze. Listen, man, this ain't what it looked like," he stammered. I was just trying to..." "Trying to what?" Cato asked softly. Get us killed? D-Rick shook his head violently. No, man, no. They offered me money. Just money. Just to warn them. Cato walked closer. You told Scarpini the transport route. D-Rick backed up. I ain't think it'd matter. I ain't know y'all was gonna hit him tonight, I swear. Cato raised one hand. D-Rick flinched, bracing for a bullet. But Cato didn't pull the trigger. He dialed someone, put the phone on speaker. Big Momma Joyce's voice filled the night. You found him, baby? Cato stared at D-Rick trembling in the dirt. Yeah, Big Mama, I got him. D-Rick dropped to his knees. Auntie Joyce, please, please, I ain't mean no harm. Cato watched him cry without blinking. Joyce's voice was calm. Derek, why you do that? I was scared. Of who? The Sicilians, he shouted. They said they'd kill me, kill my mama, if I didn't give info. Silence. Then Joyce said, No, baby, they ain't threaten you. D-Rick froze. What? I know fear when I hear it, she continued. They ain't scare you. Greed scared you. Greed made you stupid. Stupid made you dangerous. D-Rick sobbed harder. Please, please don't. I'm family. Joyce sighed softly. You family until you betray us. Cato exhaled, slow. Final. You want me to bring him back? He asked. Joyce's answer was immediate. No, handle it, and clean up after. Cato ended the call. D-Rick looked up with wide, wet eyes. Cato, please. Cato's face didn't change. You shouldn't have called him. D-Rick shook violently. I'll leave. I'll disappear. I swear. Too late. Cato, please. Cato drew the pistol. One shot. Suppressor. D-Rick collapsed silently against the leaves. Cato stood over him, emotionless. Then he grabbed the backpack, poured gasoline Lucky left earlier, and lit a match. The flames climbed quickly, cleansing, erasing, final. Cato turned and walked away as D-Rick burned behind him. Lucky spoke in Cato's ear, voice low. Scarpini ain't getting nothing now. Cato's voice was gravel. He never should have gotten anything. Back at the house, Cato entered the compound again. Big Momma Joyce stood on the porch. She didn't ask what happened. She didn't need to. She simply said, Thank you, baby. Cato nodded once. Transport still happening. Joyce's eyes hardened. Oh, it's happening. She stepped closer. And now that the traitor's gone, we hitting Scarpini with everything. Cato nodded, turned, went back to his truck. Joyce watched him go. In her eyes was no sadness, only resolve. Chapter 11. The final Atlanta hit. Midnight in Atlanta. The kind of night where the street lights flickered like they were scared. The kind of night where the air tasted metallic and heavy, like the city knew something violent was coming. Because tonight wasn't just a hit, it was a declaration, a message carved in bullets and silence. A war cry delivered without a single scream. Tonight, Don Salvatore Scarpini's final breath would freeze in Atlanta air. The blackout window. At 11:47 p.m., President Whitford stepped in front of a camera inside the White House and announced a national cyber threat alert. All federal communications jammed, all agencies ordered to restrict transmissions, a 23-minute blackout window, exactly what Big Momma Joyce demanded. Down in Atlanta, Lucky was watching the broadcast from his command center, grinning. He muttered, Good job, Prez. Now stay out the way. Then he tapped a series of keys. Every drone lit up, every camera feed sharpened, every city grid point he'd hacked blinked red, shifting the traffic lights to create isolated pockets across Northside Drive. Lucky whispered, Cato, the world yours for 23 minutes. The convoy rolls out. At 12:04 a.m., the convoy left the Buckhead safe house, 4 SUVs, 2 armored, 9 federal officers, 1 terrified Don shifting in the back seat, face pale, hands cuffed. The Sicilians thought they were hiding him. The feds thought they were protecting him. Nobody realized they were delivering him to his execution. The SUVs rolled onto Northside Drive. Every streetlight Lucky controlled turned green at the right second. Traffic thinned. Opportunities opened. The convoy accelerated into deeper darkness. Cato set up. Cato was already in position, parked under the Brookwood overpass, an old structure layered with shadows and dead angles. He had a suppressed rifle, a thermoptic mask, tactical gloves, a black hooded jacket, Lucky's GPS feed in his earpiece. 2 backup shooters hidden farther up the road, quiet men, loyal to the Jones brothers. Cato wasn't nervous. He was calm, focused, cold. This wasn't chaos. This was mathematics. Lucky. Showtime, cousin. Lucky's drones glided silently above the trees, invisible to radar. Convoy hitting the turn, Lucky whispered. 30 seconds. Cato crouched low behind a concrete barrier. Thermals online, Lucky said. I got visual on all engines. You got 3 in lead, 3 in second, 4 in rear. The Don is in the second armored SUV. Cato breathed out. Copy. Lucky clicked a button. Lights dropping in 5, 4, 3. Sus. The world goes dark. Every light around Northside Drive went black. Street lamps, highway lights, side building lights, even the LED billboards. A perfect curtain of darkness. The convoy jerked in confusion. Federal radios crackled static. Lucky whispered, and that's my cue. EMP in 3, 2, 1. The EMP strike. A soft pulse shook the ground. The SUV's engines stuttered. Dashboard screens flickered. Communications died. The convoy slowed, stopped, one by one, like sick animals collapsing. Cato rose, slow, silent, deadly. The hit begins. The lead SUV's doors burst open as officers scrambled out, guns raised. They couldn't see Cato, but he saw them. 3 suppressed shots. 3 officers dropped before their brains registered sound. Lucky's voice was steady. Back SUV opening now. 2 out on driver's side, 1 with night vision. Cato adjusted his aim. Night vision guy dropped like a puppet cut from above. The others scrambled back behind the doors. Cato moved like a shadow, using the barrier as cover, shifting angles while the feds fired blind into darkness. Bullets pinged off concrete. Sparks flew, but none came close. He leaned, timed their reload, and 2 more bodies hit the pavement. The door opens. Inside the armored SUV, Don Scarpini was screaming, "What is this? Move! Move! Move!" The driver shouted back, panicked. "Radio's dead! EMP! Cameras out! I think we're under... The window shattered. A bullet punched through the driver's skull. Scarpini froze. The passenger was reaching for a weapon when Cato stepped around the front of the SUV, mask glowing faintly, rifle aimed directly through the open window. The passenger blinked. But how? Silence. Only Scarpini left. The Don fumbled backward, scrambling across the seat. Please, I'm a businessman. I can pay... Cato opened the rear door. His voice was calm, cold, almost gentle. "You ordered a hit on a child." Scarpini's lips trembled. I didn't... Not personally. My men, they were reckless. I can explain. That was your last mistake, Cato said. Scarpini shook violently, eyes bulging with terror. "What do you want? Money? Information? Protection? I can..." Cato cut him off. "We don't negotiate with people who touch our blood." The Don sobbed. Please, I have kids." Cato leaned in closer. Marcus was somebody's kid too. And then... The Don's head snapped sideways. His body slumped. Cato didn't look away. He stayed still for one long breath, honoring the kill. Lucky. Eraser drone incoming. Lucky exhaled shakily through the earpiece. It's done then? It's done. Lucky clicked on the final drone. It's cleanup time. The drone hovered over the scene, spraying a fine mist. A chemical Lucky design that erased DNA, blood trace, skin cells, and gunshot residue. Then a small charge dropped under the SUV. Cato stepped back. Boom! Not huge! Just enough to torch the bodies, scorch the scene, fry electronics, and create confusion for investigators. No evidence, no trajectory, no shell casings, a ghost kill, perfect. The exit. Cato jogged back to his Tahoe, tossed his gear in the back, switched plates, and drove off into the darkness as the first sirens wailed in the distance. Lucky whispered, "Cousin, you just changed the world." Cato drove onto the highway, eyes forward, voice steady. "No, we just reminded it who run this." Back at the compound. Big Momma Joyce sat at the head of the long dining table, cigar smoke curling above her head. Champ entered. "It's done," he said. Joyce nodded. "Good," she whispered. "Now the real storm begins." Chapter 12. The Purge of the Bloodline. When word reaches the street that Adon has fallen, cities don't sleep, they tremble. But when word reaches the underworld that Don Salvatore Scarpini died under a federal blackout, killed by a ghost, erased like he never existed, the world doesn't tremble. The world kneels, because everyone knows. Only one family could pull off something that surgical, that precise, that fearless. Senoj. And tonight the family wasn't done. Cato's kill was only the first strike, the rest, a nationwide purge. A coordinated annihilation of every Sicilian foothold in America. Planned by Thomas, executed by Tommy, sanctioned by Big Momma Joyce herself. Scarpini's empire wouldn't just lose a leader, it would lose every limb attached to him. The prison side. The first crack. Scarpini's death hit the streets by 1:08 a.m. Whispers, rumors, fear. But inside the prisons, inside the dual kingdoms, the news hit like an earthquake. USP Atlanta, federal pen, Tommy's throne. Tommy didn't wait for confirmation. He could feel it in the shift of the air, in the way officers walked faster, in the sudden silence on the yard. He turned to one of his lieutenants, a wiry GD soldier with a scar across his eye. "Tell the deck," Tommy said. "Phase 2. The soldier nodded once. 5 minutes later, the federal wing erupted. Not in riots, not in chaos, in precision. Sicilian inmates were pulled into showers, storage closets, and stairwells. No screams, no witnesses, just quiet thuds and muffled chokes. Every kill was quick, efficient, almost prayerful. Tommy watched from his cell window as 3 bodies were rolled into laundry bins. He murmured, "Federal crown intact." Jackson State Prison, Georgia State, Thomas's kingdom. At almost the same moment, Thomas stood in the chapel of Jackson State, surrounded by 5%ers and Muslims shoulder to shoulder. A black CO approached quietly. "They gone?" Thomas asked. "Yes, God," the officer replied. "Every Sicilian inside done been moved off the chessboard." Thomas nodded once. "Peace," he said. The officer walked away. Thomas raised his hand and every man in the chapel bowed their head. "Our enemy's spirit leaving his body tonight," Thomas said softly. Balance restored, justice done. A collective hum filled the chapel, low, powerful. Then Thomas opened his eyes, calm and deadly. "Phase 3, he said. The street side, the second crack. While the prisons cleaned house, the streets were moving too. Senoj soldiers across the country, Detroit, Chicago, Miami, New York, Boston, all received the same text at the same time. Breathe or bleed. That was the cue. Detroit, the Snow District, A Sicilian gambling house on 8 Mile was raided by 4 Senoj shooters, all masked. 3-minute job, 12 men down, money confiscated. 1 survivor was left alive. 1, so he could tell the story. Chicago, Little Italy. A stash house exploded at 1:33 a.m. Lucky signature, controlled blast, 0 collateral. All Sicilian product turned to ash. The explosion lit up the night sky like a warning flare. Miami, the waterfront. Remembering Marcus's shooting, the Miami clique went the hardest. A penthouse belonging to Scarpini's southern lieutenant was breached. The man never had time to reach for his gun. They marked the wall with one line, Senoj lives. New York, Staten Island dock. A warehouse used for international shipping had its entire security system jammed. Inside, Cato's outside team, fresh from Atlanta. Dash 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 Executed a silent sweep. 23 Sicilian soldiers fell in less than 10 minutes. No gunfire, no alarms, just the sound of bodies dropping one after another. Cato lifted his suppressed pistol over the last guard, who choked out, "Please, who the hell are you?" Cato answered, "Judgment." The political side. The third crack. Miracle returned to Atlanta that morning with a fresh list of politicians who had once taken Scarpini's money. She walked into Champ's office, heels clicking like war drums. "I need subpoenas," she said, "and sealed indictments." Champ nodded. "Already handled. And I need 3 careers ended." He smiled. "You want scandal or resignation?" "Both." Champ cracked his knuckles and got to work. By sunrise, a congressman was caught in a leak involving offshore accounts. A judge suddenly retired amid health concerns. A senator's mistress spilled everything to a reporter. Sicilian political influence collapsed in one night like a dying star. The underworld reacts. By dawn, every gang, cartel, and syndicate understood the message. Senoj wasn't a street family. They were a government of their own. Blood splashed across 4 states. Bodies cooled in prisons. Politicians folded like paper. The Sicilian empire, built over generations, was shattered like glass. And still, Big Momma Joyce wasn't celebrating. She sat at her son's kitchen table in Atlanta, drinking black coffee, cigar smoke curling upward. She murmured, "This ain't revenge yet. This just a cleanup." She set her cup down. "Now we deal with the ones who think they can take Scarpini's place." Her eyes hardened. "Bring me the list." Chapter 13. The Government Cleanup. By dawn, the United States government was in full meltdown mode. Not publicly, not on CNN, but behind closed doors in encrypted group chats in basement-level conference rooms where men in suits whispered like school children scared of the principal. Because sometime between midnight and sunrise, the federal transport of a high-value Italian mob asset had gone cold. Cameras dead, GPS dead, black boxes fried, convoy missing, and then the charred remains of the escort vehicles discovered on Northside Drive. But no body, no Scarpini, just ash, melted metal, and confusion. A ghost kill. And the one thing the federal government feared most: no evidence, no witnesses, no leads. The FBI war room. We got played. By 7:15 a.m., The Atlanta FBI field office was packed with high-level agents, analysts, and Homeland Security operatives. Director Marlon Price slammed his fist on the table. How do you lose an entire federal convoy in downtown Atlanta? Silence. Agents exchanged looks they didn't want to explain. One analyst pushed her glasses up and said weakly, "Sir, we experienced an unscheduled nationwide blackout window. Cyber protocols crashed. Most surveillance was down." Price glared. "I know surveillance was down, but who ordered the blackout?" Everyone hesitated. A Homeland rep finally answered, "The White House, sir." Price froze. "You're telling me the president ordered a blackout during a federal transport?" The rep nodded. I think he called it a national emergency protocol." Price stared in disbelief. "National emergency, my ass! Someone high up helped whoever did this." The room stayed quiet, because they all knew exactly who had the power to pull such a stunt. But none of them said the name. Senoj. Champ enters the chat. Meanwhile, in D.C., Champ Kendrick strolled into the Department of Justice like he was visiting a spa. He wore a tailored charcoal suit, a cobalt blue tie, and cufflinks shaped like chess pieces. He wasn't invited. He didn't knock. He didn't wait. He walked straight into the office of Deputy Attorney General Caldwell. Caldwell looked up, startled. "Kendrick, how the hell did you get past?" Champ held up a finger. "Don't finish that sentence. It'll just embarrass your security team." Caldwell scowled. "What do you want?" Champ closed the door behind him and pulled out a thin manila envelope. "This is the narrative you're going to follow for the Scarpini incident," he said. Caldwell frowned. "You gotta be incorrect," Champ cut in calmly. "I'm always serious." He slid the envelope across the desk. Inside, a fake report, a fabricated witness statement, a plausible terror cell threat, a draft press release, and a sealed case recommendation. Caldwell scanned it, horrified. "You want us to label this as domestic terrorism? We have no evidence." Champ smiled. "You don't need evidence. You need a story." And Champ added, "if you don't use this story, the real one might leak. We wouldn't want anyone learning the government lost an entire mafia don because the president panicked." Caldwell's heart dropped. He whispered, "Does he know you're here?" "He knows I exist," Champ said. "That's enough." Caldwell slumped back. "Christ." Champ leaned in. "Say his name all you want. He won't save you." "The president calls Big Momma Joyce." At 9:12 a.m., President Whitford called Big Momma Joyce personally. He didn't sound presidential. He sounded like a man who hadn't slept. "Mrs. Joyce, we have a situation." She lit a cigarette, sipping her coffee in her kitchen. "Baby, what situation? Did your chair squeak again?" "No, ma'am. Scarpini, he's gone." She blew smoke. "I imagine so. There's panic in the DOJ. The FBI is demanding answers. They want to launch a national investigation." Big Momma Joyce's eyes narrowed slightly. "And what you plan on telling them?" Whitford swallowed audibly. Whatever you tell me to." She leaned back in her chair. "Good boy." She tapped her finger on the table. "Listen close. You gonna tell them 3 things. 1, the blackout was your decision. 2, the convoy was compromised by outside terrorists. 3, a multi-agency investigation is underway. But no buts, baby. You do that and your career's safe." She took another drag. "Mess this up, and I'll make sure you don't finish your term." Whitford shuddered. "Yes, ma'am." She hung up without saying goodbye. The cover-up begins. By noon, the FBI issued a preliminary statement citing possible extremist interference. Homeland Security claimed cyber anomalies. DOJ sealed all transport records. News outlets reported a classified federal incident. No one mentioned Senoj. No one dared. And behind the scenes, every agent, from Washington to Atlanta, got a quiet message. Stand down. No case, no pursuit, no investigation. The federal government wasn't covering up for the Sicilians. They were covering up for the Jones family. Big Momma Joyce's final word on it. At home, Joyce watched the new news bulletin with a small, satisfied nod. Miracle sat beside her eating breakfast. Lucky stood behind the couch with a laptop. Cato leaned against the wall, still smelling faintly of gunpowder. Thomas and Tommy were on separate prison lines, listening quietly. Champ's voice came through the speaker. It's done. Government cleanup complete. Joyce exhaled slow. Good. Now the whole country gonna learn something? She leaned forward, eyes sharp as knives. You don't cross blood. You don't scare children, and you don't touch mine. She stood. Not unless you ready to lose everything. Chapter 14. Thanksgiving ends with dessert. Family reckoning. Aftermath. Quiet. New threat rising. The Senoj compound sat under the soft orange glow of early evening. A strange calm settling over it. The kind that only comes after blood has been spilled and power has shifted. Inside the mansion, the long dining table, the same one where war had been declared just a night earlier, was now covered in candles, plates of sweet potato pie, peach cobbler, banana pudding, and Big Momma Joyce's famous caramel cake. Thanksgiving dessert. But this wasn't celebration. This wasn't peace. This was a moment of breath after the storm. The kind killers took when they washed blood off their hands and sat down pretending to be human for 10 minutes. Cato sat at the far end of the table, quiet, fingers interlocked, eyes distant. Lucky typed on his laptop between bites of pie. Miracle swirled a glass of red wine, staring into it like she expected secrets to rise from the liquid. Champ leaned back, jacket off, tie loosened, exhaustion sitting under his eyes. Rev Lay stood near the back door, face clouded with the weight of prayers he wasn't sure God wanted to hear. Noise hummed low, dishes clinking, quiet conversation, the faint whir of Lucky servers. But beneath it all, a hum of tension, a silent question. What comes next? Big Momma Joyce enters. The conversation died instantly as she walked in, not because she demanded it, but because her presence carried gravity. Big Momma Joyce wore a simple black dress, apron gone, hair wrapped tight, a cigarette between her fingers. She didn't look tired. She looked sharpened. She took her seat at the head of the table, body leaning forward slowly, like a queen settling onto her throne after battle. You can eat, she said, waving a hand. Only then did everyone move again. She let them take their bites. Let the silence grow comfortable. Let them believe they might get a moment to relax. Then she tapped her spoon against her cup. One time, a sound that hit everyone like a gunshot. All right, she said. Dessert over. Back to business. Lucky closed his laptop halfway. Cato sat up straight. Miracle stiffened. Champ licked icing off his thumb but stopped chewing. Rev Lay took one slow step closer. Joyce scanned the room. Scarpini gone, she said. His empire cracked. The prisons cleaned out, politicians bending the knee, FBI folding, government hushing us out the news. She inhaled smoke, exhaled slow. But we ain't done. Cato raised an eyebrow. Who's left? Joyce smiled faintly. A lot of greedy white men always want to fill the empty throne. Miracle's eyes narrowed. Meaning, Joyce said. We ain't killed the disease. We just killed the infection. Lucky. I got receipts. Lucky cleared his throat and spun the laptop to face the table. I've been watching chatter since Chicago, Detroit, Miami, New York went up in flames, he said. The Sicilian Empire didn't just fall. It vacuumed. He clicked. New names appeared. Cesare Mantelli, Boston underboss. Leo Viscari, Chicago enforcer. Vince Carbone, Canadian pipeline boss. Marco Villalba, Colombian-Italian hybrid plug. Victor Mazzanti, the banker. Champ nodded slowly. I knew Mazzanti's name would pop up. Who's Mazzanti? TJ asked. Champ folded his arms. He's the money man. Old world, quiet, dangerous. Runs investment vehicles and laundering for 3 European syndicates and 2 U.S. mafias. Lucky clicked again. And guess who's trying to grab Scarpini's leftover contacts? Cato leaned forward. Lucky tapped the screen. All of them. Together. Miracle's jaw clenched. A coalition. Joyce nodded. That's right, baby. Wolves don't act alone when they smell a dead alpha. Revlay whispered, they gon' wage holy war trying to reclaim their honor. But Joyce shook her head. No, honor ain't their motive. She leaned in. Vengeance. Champ, the government knows too much now. Champ cleaned his glasses. The problem, he said, isn't just the coalition forming. He set the glasses down. It's the feds. Miracle stiffened. What about them? The president did what we asked, but he can't hide this forever. That blackout, that convoy, the dead agents, that was the kind of failure that Congress will force hearings on. Lucky muttered, damn. Champ continued, the FBI is confused now, but confusion don't last. Some smart agent gon' connect dots. And when he does, he's coming for the Senoj family. Joyce didn't blink. Baby, she said softly, we done beat the feds before. I know, Champ said, but not when the entire Sicilian remnant wants revenge too. Cato asked, how much time before they regroup? Lucky shrugged. At the speed they moving, days, maybe hours. Silence. Then Joyce tapped her spoon again. Which means we get ahead of it. The new target, unseen but coming. Joyce stood slowly. Family. We ain't in danger of losing. She paused. We in danger of underestimating. She walked around the table, stopping behind Cato first. You my blade, she said. Sharp, precise, invisible. She placed her hand on his shoulder. But blades ain't enough no more. She moved to Lucky. You my eyes in the sky, my ears in the wires, my lightning. Hand on his shoulder. But storms ain't enough no more. She stood behind Miracle. You my mask, my diplomat, my poison. Hand on her shoulder. But smiles ain't enough no more. She faced them all. That coalition forming in the dark, they ain't like the old Italians. Her voice dropped low, almost trembling with intensity. They young, they ruthless, they global, and they coming for us. Miracle whispered, who leads them? Lucky pulled up one last picture. Grainy, taken from a drone, a silhouette standing at a harbor in Boston, tall, slim, dark suit, hands behind his back, face shadowed, but the aura deadly. The caption below it, Vincent Carbone, the quiet dawn, Scarpini's nephew, American-born, educated, bloodthirsty, and waiting. Cato stared hard. He next? Joyce answered. He ain't next. She inhaled deep. He the real war. Ah! Joyce turned away from the screen, grabbed a slice of pie, and took a bite like she had all the time in the world. Then she said, voice soft but cutting, eat up, babies. Dessert sweet. She set the fork down. But the next chapter bitter. Chapter 15. The quiet dawn of Boston Harbor slept under a blanket of fog thick enough to swallow a man whole. Shipping cranes stood like metal skeletons. Tanker lights blinked far out on the water. The cold wind cut sharp enough to make grown men shiver. But Vincent Carbone didn't shiver. He stood at the water's edge in an all-black tailored coat, leather gloves on, breathing slow and even as the harbor wind whipped around him. He looked calm, too calm. Men like Vincent didn't fear the cold. Men like Vincent were the cold. Behind him, 6 Sicilian lieutenants waited in the shadow of a cargo container, heads lowered, eyes tense. Everyone knew why they were gathered. Everyone had heard the news. Don Salvatore Scarpini was dead, killed in Atlanta. Word traveled fast, even faster when blood was spilled. But Vincent said nothing. He just watched the waves, still, controlled, distant, a monster dressed like a Wall Street banker. The meeting begins. Finally, Vincent turned to face the men behind him. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't gesture dramatically. He didn't growl, shout, or pace. He simply said, "Who did it?" No one answered. They all knew the answer, but they also knew that saying the name Senoj out loud might spark a reaction they weren't ready for. Vincent's eyes swept the group. "Gentlemen," he said softly, "my uncle is dead. Our soldiers across the East Coast are dead. Our businesses are erased. Our allies are compromised." Still silence. Vincent stepped closer. "Speak." A tall lieutenant finally swallowed hard and said, It was the Jones family, the Senoj." Vincent nodded once, a slow, emotionless nod. Then he asked, "And what did you do about it?" The men exchanged nervous glances. Vincent stepped closer still. "What did any of you do tonight, when my uncle's ashes hit Atlanta pavement?" The lieutenant tried to speak. "They caught us off guard. We had no time to—" Bang! Vincent shot him in the forehead without blinking. The man dropped like a sack of bricks. The others froze. Vincent holstered the gun calmly. "Excuses," he said quietly, "are the language of failure." He motioned to the smallest of the lieutenants. "You, clean it up." The man rushed forward, dragging the corpse behind the crate with trembling hands. Vincent didn't look at him again. "The quiet Don speaks." Vincent clasped his hands behind his back and walked slowly through the group. "The Senoj believe they've won," he said, voice even. "They believe they removed a cancer. They believe this is the end of something." He stopped. "It isn't." He looked each man in the eyes. "This is a beginning." One lieutenant whispered, "What should we do? How do we—" Vincent cut him off. "Not we." He pointed to his own chest. "Me?" He began listing targets like he was naming items on a grocery list. "Miracle Jones, political arm of the family. She dies first. Lucky Jones, the hacker. Without him, they go blind. Cato, the blade. Remove him, their muscle collapses. Champ, their legal shield. Take him, the government trembles. Thomas, their spiritual pillar. Kill him, the state system fractures. Tommy, their federal king. Remove him, the prison empire falls. Big Momma Joyce, remove her, the family forgets who they are." A chill swept through the men. Vincent continued, "We do not attack the Senoj head on. We erode them, we starve them, we turn their own structures against them." He stepped into the center of the circle. "We do not shoot first." His eyes hardened. "We make them bleed slowly." Introducing Vincent's weapon, the European connection. Vincent tapped a small encrypted phone in his pocket. "You want to know how we win?" he asked. He dialed a number. A voice answered on the first ring. Italian, smooth, deadly. "Pronto." Vincent switched to Sicilian. "E ora, inizia il protocollo nero." "It's time. Initiate Black Protocol." The voice responded instantly, "Con piacere," with pleasure. He hung up. His lieutenant stared at him, confused and terrified. Vincent explained, "I just activated the Black Protocol. A European network older than every American family combined. Russian Bratva, Albanian syndicates, Italian Camorra, Spanish heroin roots, Middle Eastern money launderers." He spread his hands calmly. "All united, under me." His voice chilled the air. "And all now aimed at the Jones family." The first strike, a message to Atlanta. Vincent didn't wait. He nodded at one of the men. Call the Boston Port Authority. Tell them to release shipment 77. The man hesitated. Sir, 77 is... Vincent's eyes snapped toward him. The man swallowed. Yes, sir. I'll make the call. Shipment 77. A crate filled not with drugs, not with guns, not with money, but with 12 European-trained killers, flown in under fake passports, paid in advance, devoted only to Vincent Carbone. Vincent said, send them to Atlanta. Have them observe the compound, learn the patterns, find the weak points. He stared out over the water again. Tonight, the Senoj took something from me. He closed his eyes. Tomorrow, I take everything from them. Back in Atlanta, the first warning sign. Meanwhile, Lucky's drones were scanning the perimeter of the Senoj compound. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. Lucky frowned. Cato, we got movement at the south fence. Unusual intelligence. I'm picking up foreign thermal signatures. Cato straightened instantly. How many? Not sure yet, but they move professional, tight formation. Miracle's wine glass paused midair. Champ stood. Rev Lay whispered a prayer. Big Momma Joyce didn't move. She just stared at Lucky's screen and said softly, What you see, baby? Lucky zoomed in. The drone image sharpened. 12 shadowy figures moved through the trees with military stealth. Lucky felt his chest tighten. That ain't feds, he said. That ain't locals. He zoomed further. Their formation, their weapons, their precision. Cato said, That's hit squad training. Lucky whispered, Big Mama, we got company. Joyce nodded slowly. I know. Her voice dropped to a whisper. That's Vincent Carbone. Chapter 16. 12 Wolves at the Gate. The Senoj compound sat on 25 acres of fortified Georgia soil. Camera towers, reinforced fences, underground tunnels, hidden safe rooms. It was designed to stop street crews, jealous rivals, rogue cops, even SWAT if they tried something stupid. But the 12 shadows moving through the tree line that night, they weren't SWAT. They weren't gangsters. They weren't amateurs. They were wolves. Hand-selected by Vincent Carbone, trained in Spain, Italy, Albania, and Serbia. Military precision, no bullshit tattoos, no loud bragging, no ego, killers, pure ones. Lucky watched the live feed, fingers trembling over his keyboard. Cato, this ain't normal. They moving like ghosts. No noise. They know where our blind spot is. How the hell? Cato cut him off. Relax, he said, loading a mag into his suppressed rifle. Wolves bleed too. Lucky swallowed. Not these wolves. The approach. The 12 men fanned out in 2 perfect formations, 6 on the west side, 6 on the south perimeter, everyone dressed in matte black tactical gear. Night optics, silencers, climbing gloves, military climbing hooks. Formation leader raised 2 fingers. They stopped immediately. He scanned, found a weak point, not a real weak point, just a section of fence that Lucky intentionally left less electrified for maintenance. Only someone with inside intel or professional reconnaissance experience would know that. Cato whispered into his mic, Lucky, how they know that spot? I don't know, Lucky said. You think they hacked us? Cato shook his head. No, they studied us. He adjusted his sights. This ain't thugs. This is military. These boys trained to kill presidents. Lucky's voice dropped into fear. Cato, Big Mama in the house. Cato's tone didn't change. I know. That's why none of these boys leaving alive. The fence breach. The wolves clipped a tiny charge the size of a poker chip onto the fence joint. A soft sound fizzed. The metal melted like candle wax. 0 alarms, 0 sparks. They slipped through the opening silently, like water through cracked stone. Lucky whispered, Oh, this bad. This real bad, Cato. Cato wiped his gloves on his pants, face blank. Lucky. Patch me through the house audio. A beep. His voice carried into the main hall. Everyone down. Get Big Mama to the bunker, now. Miracle stood up instantly. Champ grabbed her arm. We move. Rev Lay guided Big Momma Joyce with surprising strength. She didn't look scared, just annoyed. Who the hell interrupted my dessert now? Cato moves. Cato sprinted toward the south corridor exit. He didn't run like a man. He moved like a bullet. Precision, silent, deadly. Lucky fed him updates in real time. 6 entering south yard, 6 on west side. Their formation tight. They moving toward the guest house, then to the main. I know the route, Cato replied. Tell me their lead man. Lucky zoomed in. Tall, shaved head, scar down left cheek. Looks ex-Eastern European military. Good. Cato reloaded. He dies first. The first contact. The wolves reached the guest house. 3 approached the door. 3 watched their backs. Silent hand signals, coordinated breath. 1 place to charge on the lock. Boom, small, surgical. They rushed in, rifles raised, ready to clear rooms. They weren't ready for Cato. He dropped from the roofline above them like a shadow. 3 headshots before their boots hit the floor. The other 3 whipped around, saw nothing. Cato melted back into darkness. Lucky whispered, Bro, how the hell did you... Cato didn't answer. He was already hunting. The wolf with the scar. The scar-faced leader signaled the remaining 9 men to converge. They formed a half-moon pattern. Flanking angles, no blind spots. Scar tapped his earpiece twice. Delta formation. They moved forward. Professional, deadly, disciplined. Scar stopped suddenly. He sensed something. He stepped forward slowly and stepped directly into Cato's trap. A thin, almost invisible monofilament wire Lucky taught Cato to set years back. Stretched between the guest house porch and a pine tree. Scar didn't see it. His shin hit the wire. He stumbled, and Cato lunged from behind the porch pillar, burying a suppressed 9mm into Scar's temple. Scar's eyes went blank. He dropped. His squad froze, momentarily confused. Cato whispered, Lucky, patch this into their comms. Lucky grinned. Oh yeah. A beat dash dash. Then Cato spoke directly into the wolves' earpieces. Your leader dead. Now it's a fair fight. The wolves tensed. Confusion, anger, fear. Lucky laughed into the mic. 'Cause that was cold. Cato didn't reply. He was already moving toward the next kill. The counter siege. The wolves attempted to regroup. 4 closed in from the west, 5 from the south. Cato breathed slow. Lucky said, 1 behind the shed, 2 by the pool, 2 flanking right, 1 on the roof, 3 moving toward the side kitchen entrance. Cato cut him off. Switch drone 7 to thermal and keep talking. Lucky nodded, fingers flying across keys. Got it? They triangulating on your last known position. They think you trying to distract them. They want to push into the house. Cato sprinted toward the pool. They not touching that house. The pool fight. 2 wolves waited behind the stone pool wall, 1 with a knife, 1 with a suppressed SMG. Cato slid across the wet concrete, firing low. Knife guy dropped. SMG guy dove behind a pillar. Cato rolled right, dove into the pool, and swam underwater toward the pillar's backside. SMG guy leaned out. Wrong angle. Cato exploded from the water like a shark, grabbed the man's wrist, bent it till it snapped, and... crack! Knife to the throat, blood poured into the pool. Lucky whispered, That's 6 down, 6 left. Cato climbed out, drenched, loading another mag. 6 too many. West squad collapse. The remaining wolves on the west side made their move, scattering to different elevations, trying to surround Cato. Lucky warned him. "They moving fast. You need height, bro." Cato agreed. He sprinted toward the oak tree that overlooked the west yard, climbed halfway up the trunk, flipped onto the garage roof, and waited. Lucky whispered, "2 incoming left, 1 rooftop, 1 under the deck." Cato aimed. 2 shots. F. Bodies dropped. The rooftop wolf lunged. Cato ducked. The wolf missed and slid across shingles. Cato grabbed him by the collar and threw him off the roof. The man hit the lawn with a hard, wet thud. "1 under the deck left," Lucky warned. Cato jumped down. The wolf charged with a combat knife. Cato sidestepped, caught the man's arm, snapped the elbow, and shoved the knife into his ribs. Lucky exhaled. "That's 10. Cato nodded. 2 left. The final 2. The snipers. Lucky's voice grew urgent. "Cato, last 2 ain't on the ground. They on the tree line West Ridge. Sniper rifles, thermal scopes." Cato froze. That was a problem. Snipers meant distance. Distance meant precision. Precision meant real danger. Cato whispered, "Lucky. Black out their optics." Lucky cracked his knuckles. "Oh, now you speak my language." A digital hum. Lucky hacked their frequency. "Done." Cato ran into the open yard deliberately. "A decoy," Lucky announced. "They lost visual. They shooting blind." Gunshots cracked. Dirt splashed near Cato's feet. Cato zigzagged toward the ridge. 1 wolf dropped low. Cato shot him clean in the face. The last wolf panicked, firing wildly. Cato ducked behind a tree, slid around the trunk. 1 shot, 1 kill. Lucky whispered, "Cato, that's all 12. Cato stood still, chest rising and falling, gun dripping water and sweat. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. He just said, "Tell Big Mama it's handled." Big Mama knows. Back in the house, Big Momma Joyce was sitting calmly in her chair when Rev Lay brought the update. "Joyce, 12 intruders, neutralized." She nodded. Knew my baby would handle it. But she didn't smile. She didn't relax. She whispered, "Vincent didn't send those men to kill us." Miracle frowned. "Then why?" Joyce stared forward. "To measure us." A pause. "And he gon' hit us harder next time." Chapter 17. Vincent's counterplay. Vincent Carbone didn't rage, didn't scream, didn't break anything. When his 12 elite wolves failed to return, when their biometric trackers flatlined 1 by 1, when their heart rates dropped into the silence of death, Vincent simply folded his hands behind his back and stared at the harbor water. He whispered, "Impressive." Not angry, not shaken, interested. The man standing beside him, Marco Villalba, watched him cautiously. "You sent the best, Vincent. 12 elites. They were handpicked." Vincent didn't respond. Marco cleared his throat. "You think the Joneses, the Senoj, they expected the attack?" Vincent didn't look at him. "They survived it," he said softly. "That's enough." Marco nodded. "Then we escalate?" Vincent finally turned, eyes dark and cold as ocean trenches. "No." He walked toward the dock, shoes clicking softly. "We adapt." The 3-pronged strategy. Because Vincent never hits 1 target at a time. Vincent stepped onto a sleek black speedboat and lit a cigarette. "Marco," he said, "what do you know about war?" Marco swallowed. "That we hit them harder next time?" Vincent shook his head. "That's street thinking. That's American thinking." He tapped ash into the water. "I do not fight the way a gangster fights. I fight the way an empire fights." He raised 1 finger. 1. We take their money. Another. 2. We take their allies. Another. 3. We take their peace. Marco blinked. "What about their lives?" Vincent exhaled smoke slowly. That comes last. Death is the dessert. He smiled coldly. And I never start with dessert. Phase 1. Bleed the money. Vincent stepped onto the boat deck where 2 laptops were open, each displaying data streams. A slim Italian hacker sat hunched behind the screens. Luciano, Vincent said. The hacker straightened. Yes, Don Carbone. Begin. Luciano's fingers flew. He hacked into an offshore account. Then another, then another, then 3 more. The screen filled with accounts from Panama, Ireland, Hong Kong, Belize, Turks and Caicos, all registered under shell companies connected to the Senoj laundering web dash. The quiet financial empire Miracle and Champ helped build over a decade. Luciano asked, full drain? No, Vincent said. Freeze them, quietly. Let the Joneses feel their pockets closing. Let them panic. Phase 2. Cut their allies. Marco stepped forward. Our inside contacts are ready. Vincent nodded. Activate them. 3 phone calls, 3 different states, 3 different allies. A Georgia state senator who owed Miracle favors. A deputy warden secretly aligned with Thomas. A trucking magnate who moved product for Tommy. One by one, each got the same message. Choose the Sicilians or die with the Joneses. And each one flinched, because the quiet Don didn't make threats. He made promises. Phase 3. Break their peace. Vincent stood in his cabin, removing his gloves and sliding into a tailored black blazer. Marco asked, and for the family itself? What do we target? Vincent stared out the window at the Boston skyline. Their minds. Marco frowned. What do you mean? Vincent smiled slowly. The Senoj Cartel is strong because they trust one another. He tapped his temple. A united mind. A united purpose. A united bloodline. He turned toward Marco, eyes glinting with quiet, evil brilliance. Break their trust. And you break the family. The betrayal. A Judas inside the bloodline. Back in Atlanta, the Senoj compound sat under armed lockdown. Cato walked the perimeter. Lucky monitored drones. Miracle made political calls. Champ secured legal walls. Rev Lay prayed for sinners and saints alike. Big Momma Joyce sat at the dining table, her teacup steaming. She whispered, "Somebody in this family gonna betray us." Miracle froze. Who? Joyce didn't answer. Not yet. She just stared out the window, eyes narrowing. "Blood gon' tell on itself," she said. "You listen long enough." She tilted her head, and I hear the lie already whispering. The first sign of inside treason. Lucky's laptop pinged. He frowned. Cato, Big Mama. Somebody inside the compound just used a coded frequency. Cato turned instantly. From who? Lucky typed fast. It's bouncing, cloaking, but it's coming from someone with high access. Miracle stepped closer. Access how high? Lucky zoomed in. His face went pale. Access equal to me. Cato clenched his jaw. That ain't possible. Lucky whispered. It is if someone's using stolen clearance. Champ entered, overhearing the last line. Who would have something like that? Lucky clicked again. A file opened, encrypted. Lucky cracked it, then froze. He looked up slowly, eyes wide, voice trembling. Oh no! Cato grabbed him by the shoulder. Who? Lucky swallowed hard. It's someone with direct access to our systems. Our cameras, our tunnels, our finances. He turned the laptop toward Big Momma Joyce. Her eyes hardened instantly. Miracle gasped. Champ's face drained of color. Rev Lay whispered a prayer so soft it almost broke. Cato asked, his voice low and deadly. Who betrayed the bloodline? Lucky said the name. The room stopped breathing. Uncle Roger. Chapter 18. Uncle Roger's Sin. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. The air inside the Senoj compound thickened like syrup, heavy, suffocating, dangerous. Uncle Roger. The name alone sounded wrong in the room. Roger Jones, Big Momma Joyce's baby brother. A man who'd watched Miracle grow up, who taught Lucky to drive, who carried Cato on his shoulders at barbecues, who sent money to Tommy and Thomas during their early prison bids. Family. But sometimes the devil didn't show up in a rival's jersey. Sometimes he sat at your dinner table. Cato clenched his fists, jawed tight enough to crack teeth. Miracle shook her head slowly in disbelief. Champ whispered, "Lord have mercy." Big Momma Joyce didn't react. She simply stood, and the room fell silent the way churches do right before a funeral. Big Momma Joyce, bring him to me. Her voice was soft, dangerously soft. "Lucky," she said. "Where is he right now?" Lucky swallowed. "His tracker shows he's in the North Guest House, alone, moving nervous. He knows something's wrong." Cato was already halfway to the door, but Joyce raised a hand. "Let him walk," she said. "He gon' come out that house trying to run." She turned her eyes toward the porch. "Cato, baby, go stand outside." Cato nodded once and moved. Not a word, not a breath wasted. Joyce looked at Champ. "You ready to talk legal?" Champ adjusted his tie. "No mercy." "Good." She looked at Miracle. "You stay with me." Miracle nodded, hands trembling slightly. Then Joyce turned to Lucky. "You keep them eyes in the sky watching. Nobody else leave. We ain't letting the enemy inside walk out." Lucky wiped the sweat from his forehead. "Yes, Big Momma." The walk of a guilty man. Uncle Roger stepped out of the North Guest House with a duffel bag over his shoulder. He wasn't dressed like himself. He wore dark clothes, boots, a jacket zipped high, running clothes. He looked around, paranoid, twitchy, wide-eyed. Lucky's drone zoomed in. "He nervous," Lucky said. "Sweating heavy, pulse high." Miracle whispered from behind Big Momma. "Auntie, why would he betray us? He loved Marcus. He loved all of us." Joyce didn't answer. Not yet. Roger crept around the side of the house and froze when he saw Cato standing at the bottom of the steps, arms crossed, expression blank, a shadow carved from violence. Cato," Roger stuttered. I was just going into town. Needed supplies." Cato said nothing. Roger swallowed hard. "I ain't did nothing wrong." Cato tilted his head slightly. A quiet gesture, a deadly one. Big Momma steps out. The front door opened. Slow, heavy, final. Big Momma Joyce stepped onto the porch with Miracle beside her. Roger's knees wobbled. "Joyce? Joyce, listen to me." "Oh, I'm listening," Joyce said. "I've been listening all night." Roger's eyes darted around like a cornered animal. You got it twisted. Whatever Lucky told you." Lucky's voice echoed through the speaker system. I ain't tell her nothing. Your own phone did." Roger's face crumpled. Fear turned into guilt. Guilt turned into desperation. "Joyce, they forced me." "No, they didn't," Joyce said calmly. "You called them first." Roger's breath stopped. Cato's eyes sharpened. Miracle whispered, "Uncle!" "Why?" "Roger's confession." Roger dropped his duffel bag and sank to his knees. "I didn't want this," he said, voice cracking. "I've been scared for months. The Sicilians. Vincent, he knew everything." Joyce raised one eyebrow. "And you told him everything?" Roger shook his head violently. "No, not at first. Never at first. He came to me 2 years ago, after Thomas got locked up. He said he knew where Marcus went to school. He said he would keep Marcus safe." Cato's jaw flexed. Miracle gasped. Champ's eyes narrowed. Roger sobbed. I didn't think he touched the boy. I swear to God. I thought it was leverage. He told me if I cooperated, Marcus would be protected. I ain't know he... Cato stepped forward. Marcus died because of you. Roger broke completely. I know. And I'd die for that mistake. I swear. Please, Joyce. I ain't want this war. I ain't want no one hurt. Joyce took a step forward. Not fast, not slow. Just final. Baby brother, she said softly. You've been talking to Vincent Carbone long before Marcus got hit. Don't lie to me. Roger covered his face, sobbing into his hands. I was scared, he cried. Scared of him, scared of you, scared of everything. Joyce's expression didn't change. So, your solution was to betray the whole family? Roger choked on a sob. I don't deserve forgiveness. I know that. But please, don't let him kill me. I'm your blood, Joyce. I'm your brother. Joyce closed her eyes. Just for a moment. Not in mercy. In mourning. Then she whispered, I lost a brother already. And now you want me to lose another. Roger looked up, hopeful. Joyce, please. Joyce opened her eyes again, and they were made of ICE. You ain't my brother no more. Us. The sentence. Champ stepped forward. Roger Jones, he said in a calm courtroom voice, you engaged in treason against a sovereign criminal enterprise. You provided aid to a hostile syndicate. You caused the death of a child, and you endangered the entire bloodline. Roger shook uncontrollably. Champ, please. Cato chambered around. Big Momma Joyce held up a hand. No, not Cato. Roger blinked. What? Then, who? Joyce turned to Reverend Lay, who stood quietly behind them, Bible in hand. Lay, she said, do what's needed. Rev Lay closed his eyes. He whispered something soft. A prayer of forgiveness, a request for mercy, a plea for a clean passing. Roger crawled forward, desperate. Reverend, please don't... I thought you was the man of God. Rev Lay opened his eyes, and they were full of sorrow. God forgives, he said gently, but family delivers justice. He placed a hand on Roger's forehead. Lord, receive this man. Then nodded to Cato. Cato raised his silenced pistol. PFFT. Roger's body slumped forward, dead before he finished falling. Rev Lay whispered, Amen. Big Momma Joyce didn't cry. She simply said, burn everything he touched. Change every code, every lock, every route, every frequency. Cato nodded. Lucky typed furiously. Champ closed his notebook. Miracle clenched her fists. Joyce stared into the night sky. Vincent ain't just trying to kill us, she whispered. He trying to tear us apart from the inside. She stepped off the porch. But he ain't know one thing. She lit a cigarette. We ain't break. Her eyes blazed. We strike. Chapter 19. Vincent's Washington hit. Washington, D.C. dawned gray and cold. One of those mornings where fog hugged the monuments like ghosts revisiting old sins. Miracle stood in front of the Jefferson Hotel mirror, applying a thin line of gold eyeliner, her movements calm, but her mind turbulent. Uncle Roger's betrayal was still echoing in her skull. She had grown up braiding his daughter's hair. She had laughed at his terrible barbecue jokes. She had hugged him at holidays. And he had betrayed them. She whispered to her reflection, Vincent Carbone, you want to play chess? Baby, I invented charm warfare. She snapped her compact closed, slipped on a black trench coat, and left the suite. But the moment she stepped into the hallway, she felt something. A shift, a tension in the air that wasn't there before. It felt like being watched. Lucky's warning. Her phone buzzed. Lucky cuz... Stop! Don't get in the elevator. Miracle froze with her finger hovering over the elevator button. She typed back, Why? What you see? A beat. Lucky sent a drone feed picture, an overhead thermal shot, 3 heat signatures on the floor below her, stationary. Positions flanking the elevator doors. Professional formation, silent, waiting. Miracle stepped back slowly. Mother... Her phone buzzed again. Lucky, Miracle, they're Vincent's men. They tracking you off your Senate visits. You need to move. Miracle whispered, Are you watching the hotel feeds? Lucky's reply came fast. Baby, I'm watching everything in D.C. Miracle swallowed. Then get me out this building alive. Lucky typed, Emergency stairs. Now. The chase begins. Miracle darted toward the emergency stairwell door and slipped inside just as the elevator chimed behind her. She ran barefoot, heels in one hand, phone in the other. Down 3 flights. Lucky's voice came through her AirPod. Miracle, they know you moved. Thermal from the stairs just spiked. Which floor? 2 floors above you, moving fast. They splitting up. Shit. Listen, door on your right. Storage room. Hide for 5 seconds so I can reroute traffic. She ducked in, stood still, held her breath. Footsteps thundered down the steps. 2 men, one slow, one fast. Vincent sent finesse killers, not crash dummies. Lucky whispered, Okay, go left, not down. Floor 3, west hallway. Get to suite 312. What's in 312? A back balcony. I hacked the lock already. Miracle sprinted. The first attack! As she burst into the 3rd floor hallway, the lights flicked. 1 light went dark, then 2 more. Lucky cursed in her ear. Miracle, run! I think they looped building security. A silhouette stepped out around the corner. Black tactical gear, silencer pistol, European stance. Miracle gasped. The man raised a gun. Calm, precise, a hitman, not a shooter. Miracle dropped to her knees behind a housekeeping cart as silenced rounds whispered overhead, hitting the wall. She crawled fast, heart smashing inside her chest. Lucky yelled, Left, Miracle! Left! She dove behind a vending machine. Bullets thudded into its metal frame. Lucky's drone switched to infrared. I got him on camera. He's reloading. Move now. Miracle popped up and sprinted full speed at suite 312. Behind her, the assassin raised his weapon. Lucky remotely set off the vending machine's power coil. It sparked, exploding loud enough to shake the floor. Miracle slammed into the door of 312, yanked it open and locked it behind her. Her breathing was ragged. Lucky whispered, Cuz, you good? Miracle pressed a hand to her chest, swallowing panic. No, she whispered, but I'm alive. The balcony escape. Lucky said, Open the balcony, now. Miracle staggered across the room and threw open the balcony door. Cold air hit her face. A drone hovered outside at eye level. A small steel cable dropped down from it. She blinked. Lucky's voice cracked with adrenaline. Tie it around your wrist. You crazy. It's the only way out. Vincent got 3 men blocking every exit. That stairwell is a kill funnel. The door behind her suddenly rattled. The assassin was at it. Miracle wrapped her wrist in the cable. Lucky, don't you drop me. Lucky shouted, I got you, cousin. The door behind her burst open. The assassin fired. Piffed, piffed, piffed. Miracle vaulted off the balcony. The drone's rotor strained, whined, almost failing dash. Miracle felt gravity grab her stomach, ripping her downward. Lucky screamed, come on, baby. Hold. The drone stabilized, barely dash, pulling her sideways toward the far building roof. She crashed onto the rooftop, rolled twice, and lay there choking on her breath. Lucky gasped, Miracle, you alive? She wheezed, yeah, I'm here. Lucky exhaled hard. Girl, I'm buying you 10 diamonds for Christmas. The sniper. Lucky choked suddenly. Wait, Miracle, get down! Miracle dove flat just as... Crack! A sniper round tore through the air and shattered a rooftop vent inches from her head. Vincent sent a sniper to the rooftop. Across the street. Lucky's drone pivoted. Lucky cursed. Oh, hell no! This guy ex-military. Probably Eastern Bloc. Miracle. Crawled to the far ledge. Slow. She slid across the gravelly rooftop. The sniper reloaded. Lucky screamed. Move! Miracle rolled. Crack! Bullet hit where her head had just been. Lucky triggered the drone's emergency defense mode. The drone shot a flare. The flare exploded near the sniper, blinding white light, enough to throw his shot off. Miracle reached the fire escape, threw herself over, and climbed down. She hit the alley pavement hard. Pain shot up her leg. Lucky shouted, Run! Run! I'm sending Cato your route. The Carbone call. Miracle limped into the back alley behind the hotel. A black sedan pulled up slowly. Windows down. A calm voice drifted out, smooth as luxury whiskey. Miracle Jones? She froze. The voice continued. Running doesn't suit you. Your elegance, power. You shouldn't be scrambling in alleys like prey. The speaker leaned forward. Vincent Carbone. Face calm, eyes black, smile polite. We should talk, he said softly. Miracle trembled with fury. You tried to kill me. Vincent shook his head. No, no. Not kill, pressure. He smiled deeper. Killing comes later. After the message is delivered, Miracle's heart hammered. Vincent whispered, You're the first piece. The most important one. Break you. And the entire Senoj machine falls apart. Miracle spat, You'll die screaming before you touch my family. Vincent's smile never faded. Perhaps. But today isn't your death. The car slowly pulled off. And next time, I won't send amateurs. He disappeared into the fog. Miracle fell to her knees. Lucky's voice screamed in her ear, Cato is 2 blocks away. Miracle, hold on. But Miracle wasn't crying. She was shaking with rage. Lucky. He wants me scared. Yeah, because he crazy. No, Miracle said, standing slowly. He wants war. She wiped blood from her lip. Then let's give him hell. Chapter 20. Cato hunts in D.C. Washington, D.C. wasn't prepared. Not for the fog, not for the cold, and definitely not for Cato. The second Lucky told him Miracle had been ambushed, Cato left Atlanta at 130 miles per hour in a stolen state trooper Charger nobody dared pull over. He didn't wait for permission, didn't pack bags, didn't ask questions. He was coming to kill. By the time he hit the district line, the sun hadn't even risen yet. The city was still asleep, unaware that a predator had entered its bloodstream. Cato parked 3 blocks from the Jefferson Hotel in an underground garage, switched plates, holstered a suppressed Glock, checked his backup SIG, slid a knife into his boot and cracked his neck. Lucky, he whispered, stepping into the cold night. Where's she now? Lucky's voice crackled in his ear, raw, angry, terrified and furious. She's safe. Cops ain't involved. Champ got her in a Senate aide's townhouse. But Cato? Vincent was there, bro. In person. Talking to her? Cato stopped walking, breathing steady, heart slow, mind cold. He touched her. No, but he close enough to speak to her face? Yes. Cato's jaw flexed. Then I'm close enough to kill. He stepped into the street. Washington was quiet, but Cato wasn't hunting the city. He was hunting a ghost. Lucky provides the first trail. Lucky's drone scanned the block, picking up heat signatures and suspicious movement. Okay. Cato, listen, Lucky said, fingers flying over keys. I'm running VINs on the black sedan Miracle saw. I'm tracking heat trails. I'm reading cell tower bounce. I got I got... He paused. Then, oh yeah, I got him. Cato kept walking. Where? Carbone got 6 hitters left in the city. 3 watching the hotel in case Miracle returns. 2 sweeping alleys nearby, and one on a rooftop 3 buildings west. Cato nodded. Which one dies first? Lucky didn't hesitate. The rooftop hunter. The sniper, Vincent sent Dash, the one who nearly took Miracle's head off, was still perched on a law office rooftop scanning for thermal signatures. He was good, experienced, precise. But Cato was better. Cato climbed the fire escape silently, boots barely whispering on the cold metal. Lucky whispered in his ear, Sniper is facing northwest, 30 yards away, wind's low. You got a clean angle. Cato didn't answer. He slipped onto the roof. The sniper didn't hear him. Not the boots, not the breath, not the safety clicking off. Cato pressed his pistol to the back of the sniper's skull. The sniper froze. Cato whispered, You shot at my cousin. The sniper swallowed. You don't have to do this. Body slumped. Cato dragged him behind the ventilation unit and wiped the barrel. One down, he said. Lucky exhaled. God damn. The 2 in the alley. The next 2 were sweeping an alleyway where Miracle nearly died. Eastern European. Short bursts of foreign language chatter in their comms. Tight formation. Checking dumpsters, stairwells, basement windows. Cato got there in 90 seconds. Lucky guided him from street cameras. They turning left, no right, heading toward the loading area. One has a knife, one has a suppressed SMG. Cato slipped into a shadow, waited for footsteps. Knife guy walked by first. Cato caught him from behind, hand over mouth, twisted his neck until it snapped. The second spun around, too late. Cato's pistol cracked twice. 2 bodies, no noise. Lucky's voice rose. That's 3 down, 3 left. Cato, you wild for this. Cato was already moving. The hotel watchers. The last 3 were in a black SUV parked across from the Jefferson Hotel, watching for Miracle to return. Professional, weapons tucked, eyes scanning. Cato walked straight toward them, not sneaking, not hiding, walking. Lucky panicked. Bro dash dash dot 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 dash Bro, what are you doing? Cato didn't answer. The lead hitman noticed him. Hey, sir, this is a restricted... Cato fired twice through the windshield. The lead gunman collapsed against the steering wheel. The other two scrambled, guns drawn. Cato slid across the hood, firing mid-roll. Second man dropped. The third fired back. Missed! Cato closed the distance and stabbed him under the ribcage, twisting hard. The man collapsed, gasping. Cato wiped the blade on the man's jacket. Lucky's voice was stunned. Cato, that's all 6. You cleared the city grid. But Cato wasn't celebrating. He stood still, breathing slow, thinking. He ain't here, Cato muttered. Vincent left already. How you know? Cato stared at the blood on his gloves. These men, they ain't the type a boss stands beside. They a distraction. Lucky froze. You think Vincent wanted to draw you out? Cato nodded. And he got what he wanted. Miracle calls. His phone buzzed. Miracle. Cato answered instantly. You safe? He asked. Yes, she said quietly. Cato, I'm so sorry. This is because of me. No, he said. This because Vincent think we weak. Miracle exhaled shakily. He spoke to me, Cato. I know. He looked me in the eyes. Cato clenched his jaw. I'm gonna fix that. He's not like Scarpini. He's worse. Cato exhaled. Then he already dead. Miracle didn't say anything. Cato spoke again, voice low. But we gonna kill him smart. Not fast, not sloppy, smart. Miracle breathed. I trust you. He ended the call and looked up at the Washington skyline. Fog, smoke, early morning cold. Lucky asked, "What now?" Cato whispered, "We hunt him backwards." Lucky blinked. "What does that mean?" Cato stepped into the street, wiping blood off his blade. If Vincent tried to kill Miracle tonight, he already planning the next move. Lucky swore softly. "You think he got help in D.C.? Cato nodded once. "He got help everywhere." Then he said something that made Lucky go silent. "Find me the politician he funding, 'cause Vincent ain't after bodies tonight." He holstered his pistol. He after power. Chapter 21. The senator who sold his soul. Political corruption. Shadow deals. A new enemy revealed. Washington had always been a city of secrets. Affairs, bribes, blackmail, foreign deals tucked behind patriotic speeches. But tonight, it birthed a new category of sin. A U.S. senator secretly working with Vincent Carbone, not bribed, not extorted, not coerced, aligned. Cato paced the inside of the safe townhouse Miracle was staying in. Champ stood near the window, talking quietly on the phone. Lucky's laptop glowed like a reactor core as he clicked through encrypted files stolen from the Department of Commerce, the IRS, and NATO data channels. Miracle sat on the couch, blanket around her shoulders, trying not to relive the moment Vincent stood a few feet from her. She wasn't scared now. She was furious. Lucky suddenly stopped. Found him. Everyone looked over. Lucky turned the laptop around. A senator's picture filled the screen. Mid-50s, gray suit, polite smile, white hair slicked neatly. Senator Roland Kavanaugh, Virginia. Miracle stiffened. No. Him. He's one of my biggest supporters. He's helped push sentencing reform, prison oversight. Cato cut her off. That ain't support. That's surveillance. Champ cursed under his breath. I should have seen this coming. Miracle stood up, shaking her head. Roland Kavanaugh is clean. His family's owed money. He doesn't need mafia ties. Lucky snorted. Baby, old American money is how the mafia laundered their early fortunes. That clean history, built on dirty foundations. He clicked again. Emails, wire transfers, flight logs, encrypted private meetings, all between Senator Kavanaugh and Vincent Carbone. Champ stepped forward, scrolling. This goes back 6 years. Investment vehicles, offshore property deals, crypto mixers, luxury arms brokers, campaign support laundered through European NGOs. He paused. Oh my God. Miracle swallowed. What? Champ pointed to a highlighted file. Kavanaugh wasn't helping your prison reform. He was helping identify influence, mapping which wardens follow Thomas, which federal officers answer to Tommy, which judges take your meetings, which nonprofits support you. Miracle's face turned pale. He was building a hit list. Cato said softly. He was building Vincent's blueprint. The root of the alliance. Lucky dug deeper. The laptop pinged. I found the connection. He opened a photo. A young man, handsome, early 30s, standing beside the senator in an Italian villa. Lucky turned to Cato. That right there? That's Vincent Carbone's cousin, Matteo Carbone, art dealer, money launderer. He's been connected to the Kavanaugh family for years, Miracle whispered. They groomed him. Champ nodded. And when Matteo brought Vincent into European political circles, Kavanaugh opened the American door. Cato's voice dropped into a quiet growl. So Vincent ain't just a mafia boss. Lucky shook his head. No, he's a diplomat of crime. Miracle's heartbeat quickened, and then Lucky clicked a final file. The largest one, encrypted under 6 layers. It opened a contract, signed by Senator Roland Kavanaugh and Vincent Carmine Carbone. The title, Project Clean Sweep. Full removal of the Senoj infrastructure. Political, financial, social, familial. Miracle whispered, Dear God. Cato stepped closer. Lucky, what's the time stamp on that contract? Lucky checked. His face froze. He whispered, 20 minutes before the assassination attempt on Miracle. Cato's jaw tightened. Vincent signed the kill order from D.C. Champ looked sick. That means he was never hiding. He walked these halls like he owned the place, Lucky added quietly. And he got government clearance doing it. Miracle pressed her fingers to her temples. Cato, we can't just kill a senator. That sets off alarms. That triggers national backlash. The news cycle alone, the political blowback. We can't. But Big Momma Joyce's voice came calm and clear through the speakerphone on the table. Oh, yes, we can, baby. Everyone turned. Joyce's voice sharpened. Ain't nobody above justice. Not a senator, not a president, not a pope. She paused. Blood touch my family? I don't care what office they hold, Miracle swallowed. Big Mama, what do you want us to do? Joyce exhaled slow. Champ, dig into his affairs. Lucky, find his back doors. Cato. Her tone lowered. Prepare to visit that man. Cato nodded once. Champ tried to warn her. Joyce, taking out a sitting U.S. senator will trigger a federal hurricane. Joyce said, Son, we've been in a hurricane. Difference is now I'm choosing the direction of the wind. Cato cracked his knuckles. When do we move? Joyce didn't hesitate. Tonight. The senator knows. Meanwhile, Senator Kavanaugh sat at his mahogany desk in Virginia, sipping scotch. His phone buzzed. Vincent Carbone's voice whispered through the speaker. Roland. Yes? They survived the D.C. strike. Kavanaugh took a slow sip. I suspected as much. Then you know what comes next, Vincent said. Kavanaugh smiled faintly. They're going to come for me. Vincent replied, That's the point. Kavanaugh smirked. No worries. I've been waiting for them. He hung up. Leaning back in his leather chair, he murmured, Let the barbarians come. I built my fortress for giants, not thieves. He flicked off his office light, but the last thing he said floated into the dark. Let's see if the Jones family bleeds tonight. Chapter 22, The Senator's Fortress. Senator Roland Kavanaugh didn't live in a mansion. He lived in a fortress. Not the flashy kind with pillars and marble lions. Not the southern plantation homes Miracle had visited for fundraisers. Not a country estate with winding gardens. Number. This was different. A compound tucked deep in rural Virginia. Dense forest, one winding road in, motion sensors on every tree, drones circling silently overhead. Brick walls disguised steel plating. Windows were ballistic. Doors were reinforced with military-grade locks. And beneath it all, something no one in the Senate Oversight Committee knew existed. Cato stood on the hill overlooking the property, night wind whispering around him, eyes narrowed behind thermal binoculars. Lucky's voice crackled through his earpiece. Cato, you sure you want to do this now? Kavanaugh's place ain't no senator's vacation house. That shit looked like Blackwater meets Fort Knox. Cato didn't move. Miracle almost died, he said calmly. That's enough. Lucky sighed. Okay, look, perimeter got 12 guards outside, but they not random security. These dudes ex-CIA, former JSOC. Some got heat signatures showing body armor under clothes. Cato smiled faintly. Good. Lucky shook his head. Bro, why good? Means they trained, Cato replied. And trained men die predictable. The infiltration begins. Cato moved down the wooded hill like a shadow. No crunch of leaves, no snapped twigs, no silhouette against the moon. Lucky fed him live intel, Southside guard walking the fence. He got night vision goggles. Don't stay still or he'll catch your heat signature. Cato crouched behind a tree. North Tower has a spotter with a DMR rifle. He ain't looking your way yet, but he's close. Cato slipped through a gap in the fence, timed between two drones passing overhead. Lucky whispered, That timing was insane. Cato smirked. Timing is everything. First tier of security. The perimeter guards. A guard moved nearby, scanning with NVGs. Cato came up behind him silently. Hand over mouth, knife sliding under the jawline. Quick, silent, clean. Lucky whispered, "One down." Cato pulled the body under a camo tarp and advanced. Two more approached from opposite corners, synchronized patrol teammates. Cato timed them perfectly. Step behind the first dash. Chokehold dash dash. Twist dash dash. Quiet snap. The second guard noticed something off, turning. Cato flipped a throwing knife. Thuck! Blade buried in the man's throat. Lucky exhaled. You like Batman with trauma. Cato kept moving. Second tier. The house guards. The back patio had 3 armed guards under soft lantern light. Casual stance, but their eyes were alert. One muttered into a mic. North perimeter check, all clear. Cato whispered, "Lucky, cut the patio lights." Lucky typed fast, lights flickered, went dark. The guards froze. Cato was already inside the darkness. 2 shots, 2 down. The third panicked, firing blindly. Cato grabbed his wrist, snapped it, and slammed the man's face into the stone pillar. He crumpled silently. Third tier. The inside. Cato slipped in through the kitchen door. Now it got interesting. Lucky's voice dropped. Cato. Interior heat signatures increased. 15 total. Some not moving. Some stationed. Looks like... He hesitated. Looks like a panic room formation. Cato whispered, "Kavanaugh inside." Lucky gulped. 2 heat signatures bigger and tighter than the rest. One of those is wearing a ballistic vest with ceramic plating. The other is behind reinforced glass. Cato smirked. He's scared? The hidden bunker. Kavanaugh's real face. The house looked normal. Mahogany, expensive art, marble floors, antique vases. But Cato saw through illusions. Pressure plating under the rug, fingerprint scanner disguised as a thermostat, motion sensors in ceiling corners. He passed through the living room, paused at a wall painting. Something was off. Lucky said, "Hold up. That painting has a radiating heat pattern, like electronics behind it." Cato pressed on the frame. It clicked, shifted, revealed a steel door behind it. Lucky whispered, "Secret bunker, level 4 construction, has biometric lock. No way you..." Cato slammed the butt of his pistol into the panel. Once dash dash, twice dash dash. Panel sparked dash dash, and the door hissed open. Lucky gasped. "Bro, you a cheat code." Cato entered. The lab. This wasn't a panic room. This was a criminal command center. Servers hummed along one wall. Encrypted phones lay in neat rows. Blueprints of prisons, political maps, prison gang charts, all categorized and highlighted. Miracle's photo was taped to a digital display with red circles drawn around her face. Next to it, Thomas. Tommy, Cato, Champ, Lucky, Big Momma Joyce. Targets. Cato's jaw tightened. Lucky whispered, "Cato, this ain't just Kavanaugh helping Vincent. This is a full-blown operation." Cato walked deeper. Then he saw it. A glass chamber. Inside, a man tied to a chair, beaten, barely conscious, wearing a Georgia Department of Corrections uniform. Lucky went silent. Cato, that a state inmate. Cato stepped closer. The man lifted his head, his eyes swollen shut, bruised ribs, breathing shallow. "Who are you?" Cato asked quietly. The man coughed blood. They brought me here 2 days ago." Cato frowned. "Why?" The inmate whispered, "To question me about Thomas, about 5%ers, about prison structure. They wanted codes, schedules, guard routes." Lucky's voice cracked in his ear. "Cato, Kavanaugh running intelligence extractions on prisoners. Straight torture." The inmate reached out weakly. "You gotta warn Thomas. They coming for everyone behind bars. They..." His head dropped. Cato muttered, "Lucky. Call Rev Lay. Tell him Thomas need warning now." Lucky's fingers flew. "No problem. Done." Cato stepped back, fist tightening. Kavanaugh wasn't just corrupt. He was orchestrating a federal coup against the entire prison system to help Vincent take control of everything the Senoj family built. Cato whispered, "This ends tonight." The showdown. Senator Kavanaugh appears. A door behind the bunker opened slowly. Footsteps echoed. Then Senator Roland Kavanaugh stepped out. Dressed in a white button-down shirt, sleeves rolled, whiskey glass in hand. He smiled. "Mr. Jones," he said calmly, "I was wondering when one of you would come. I assume Miracle survived her little encounter?" Cato aimed his pistol. "Keep talking. I want your last words to make sense." Kavanaugh chuckled. "You think this is a street fight? A cartel raid?" He sipped his whiskey. "You're in Washington now. We write the rules here." Cato stepped closer. "You crossed into our world first, Senator." "No," Kavanaugh corrected. "You should thank me. I'm liberating the country from your family's chokehold." Cato blocked the exit. "You helping Vincent because he paying you?" Kavanaugh smirked. "Oh, no. Vincent isn't paying me. I'm paying him." Cato's eyes narrowed. "Why?" Kavanaugh whispered. "Because when the Senoj family is dead, I become the next vice president." He raised his glass as if making a toast. "And I don't lose." Cato fired. But Kavanaugh hit a wall switch. The floor opened beneath him, and Cato dropped into darkness. Chapter 23. The Pit. Cato didn't fall far, but he fell hard. He crashed into steel flooring, rolled instinctively, and sprang to his feet before the pain hit. A deep metallic clang echoed as a reinforced panel slammed shut above him, sealing the opening like a vault door. Darkness. Then the lights snapped on. Cold white. Surgical. Cato blinked once, eyes adjusting instantly. Lucky's voice buzzed faintly in his ear. "Cato? Cato? Bro, I lost your signal. You underground? Some kind of Faraday cage? I can't..." Static. Cato tapped the comm. Nothing. He was alone. Perfect. He scanned the room. A circular steel chamber, 20 yards across. Bulletproof glass panels surrounding the top half like a viewing gallery. Drainage grates on the floor. Ceiling-mounted nozzles and vents. Infrared sensors tracking his movement. This wasn't a panic room. This was a kill room. Cato smirked. Cute. The overlooked deck. Kavanaugh and his witnesses. Up above, behind the bulletproof viewing window, Senator Roland Kavanaugh stepped into sight. Flanked by two men wearing black suits and earpieces, federal, not hired help, agents. Kavanaugh raised his glass again. Below, Cato's voice echoed faintly but clearly. "You drink too much." Kavanaugh smirked. "I don't drink. I perform." He turned to the agents. "Look at him. Calm. That's what makes their kind dangerous." Cato cracked his neck. "You talk too much." Kavanaugh tapped the control panel. "Begin Protocol 9. The vents hissed. The floor vibrated. Cato tensed, preparing. Phase 1. The gas. A pale yellow mist sprayed from the ceiling vents. Chemical agents, neurodisruptive, paralytics, disorienting. Kavanaugh sipped his drink. This gas incapacitated 6 SEALs in 90 seconds. Curious how long you'll last. Cato stood silently, breathing slow, deep, steady. The room steamed with poison. Cato exhaled once. Then he muttered, "Light work." He tore his shirt sleeve, wrapped the cloth around his mouth, and ran toward the wall. Kavanaugh laughed. "You can't climb out." Cato didn't climb. He ran, then lifted both legs and slammed his boots into the wall at full speed twice. The impact triggered the emergency ventilation algorithm. A metal shutter opened briefly. Cato shoved his arm into the vent and ripped the nozzle out. The gas flow reversed, shooting upward right into the viewing chamber. Kavanaugh stumbled back coughing. Agents scrambled to seal the vents. Cato smiled. 1. Phase 2. The floor. The steel floor shifted, panels dropping exposing rotating blades, spinning like industrial shredders. A pit disguised as flooring. Cato did not panic. He did not freeze. He gauged the distance, leaned ran and leaped to the narrow steel lip between two moving blades. Kavanaugh tapped the mic through coughing. Impossible. This chamber was designed to execute foreign spies. Cato found a rhythm to the blade pattern. Jump, shift left, twist, jump. He crossed the entire pit in seconds, then ripped a metal panel off the wall and jammed it into the mechanism. The entire blade system shuddered, locked. Overheated, then shut down. Cato dusted his hands. 2. Phase 3, the machete unit. The floor retracted again. 12 mechanical arms emerged from the ground, each rotating, each holding a curved machete blade moving in random arcs, designed to shred anything inside the center of the room. Kavanaugh smirked despite the gas stinging his eyes. You can't beat this. This system cuts through level 4 Kevlar. Cato cracked his knuckles, then sprinted straight into the center of the blades. Kavanaugh blinked. What? Cato slid under the first blade, grabbed the second arm mid-slice, and used it to leap over the next rotating arc. He moved like a stuntman, with the instincts of a killer and the timing of a savant. He landed on one of the mechanical arms, hanging by one hand, and pulled a knife from his boot. He stabbed the control joint, twisting metal until the arm malfunctioned. Sparks flew. One arm went wild, slicing two others and triggering a chain reaction. 5 more arms malfunctioned, crashing into each other. Cato dropped to the ground and rolled away as the last blade spun toward him. He caught it by the handle mid-spin, stopped it, and snapped it in half. He tossed the broken blade aside. 3. Phase 4, the human element. Kavanaugh snarled, slamming his hand on another panel. Enough. Release Unit Delta. A steel door opened at the far end of the chamber. 4 men stepped out. Not mercenaries, not guards, professional killers, black-budget soldiers. Ex-Tier 1 operators trained under CIA blackout programs, eyes empty, faces scarred, movements precise, all armed with combat knives and suppressed SMGs. Lucky's voice suddenly crackled through faint static. You're in a kill squad face, Liddy. Cato smirked. I figured. The first soldier lunged. Cato dodged, disarmed him, broke his wrist, stabbed him with his own blade. The second fired, Cato moved behind the first soldier's falling body as a shield, then rolled forward, slicing the man's Achilles tendon. The soldier screamed, falling. The third charged. Cato elbowed him in the throat, then stabbed him twice. The fourth soldier circled slowly, analyzing Cato's movements. This one was trained. This one was real. Cato whispered, finally. They clashed. Knife to forearm, forearm to jaw, knee to sternum, blocked strikes, counter strikes, near misses. Cato grinned between breaths. You good. The soldier swung a hidden blade from his sleeve. Cato caught his arm, locked it, stepped behind him, and snapped his neck clean. The chamber fell silent. Cato looked up at Kavanaugh. 4. The breakout! Kavanaugh trembled. How are you not tired? Cato shrugged. You built this for men. He lifted a broken machete. I ain't no man. With one throw, Cato hurled the blade upward, shattering the bulletproof glass enough to compromise its structural integrity. Kavanaugh stumbled back. The steel walls began unlocking from the shockwave. Cato climbed the emergency ladder embedded in the chamber wall, kicked out the weakened panel. and stood face to face with Senator Roland Kavanaugh. No bodyguards, no agents, no escape. Cato aimed his pistol. Kavanaugh froze. Cato whispered, "This the real Protocol 9. Kavanaugh whispered, "What is?" Cato pulled the trigger. Kavanaugh hit the floor. Done. The message sent. Cato stood over the senator's body, wiped his blade, and spoke into the calm now reconnecting. "Lucky, tell Big Mama." Lucky's voice came through, stunned. "Tell her what?" Cato stepped over the corpse. "Washington clean."
Black Friday, everything on sale, even murder, even pain. Yeah, even pain at the table with my angels and my gang, my gang. Thanksgiving plates, but the beef still tastes the same. We've been winning from the concrete to the change. Show the whole world how the family do. Show 'em. Street to the king, yeah, my haters come through. We pray your evil blessings and load up the truth. Load it up, load it up. Baby, loyalty expensive. You can't pay for proof. Can't buy this now. You touch one of mine. Don't you touch 'em. You must be out your mind. We'll bleed the blackout dry. Turn oceans into outlines. You know revenge take time. Tell 'em boys get in line. Line up, line up. We count money while our enemies flatline. So don't play with my name. Don't play with my soul. Don't play. I've been through the flames, came out made of gold. Stacking up these wins while the nights unfold. Stack it, got love for my kid, but my heart been cold. Black Friday hearts, everything got sold. Even peace, even dreams, even the stories told. Everything gone. Table full of sides, but the beef in the entree. Drinking to the losses, talking business in the hallway. Family full of legends, they made war. Look like Broadway. Every move a chess play. Killers in a card game. Pressure made diamonds, but the past made rain. We survive holidays, better all insane. Never back down to what's built this way. Built for it, built for it. Try to take mine, you'll never see another day. Don't try me, don't try. And touch one of mine. You must be crazy. You must be out your mind. Yeah, we'll bleed the blind. Or try. Turn oceans into outlines. Oceans red. You know revenge take time. Tell 'em boys get in line. Money piling to the sky. Stack it high while the enemies keep dying. Keep dying. So don't play with my name. Don't play with my soul. Please don't. I've been through the flames, came out made of gold. Stacking up these wins while the nights unfold. Stacking, got love for my kid, but my heart been cold. Black Friday hearts, everything got sold. Everything, even peace, even dreams, even their stories told. Gone, gone.